County Board of Supervisors meeting of Tuesday, June the 2nd. Mr. Baines, would you call the roll?
Yes, sir.
Dr. Orth?
Here.
Dr. Lemming?
Here.
Mr. Hudson?
Here.
Mr. Crisco?
Here.
Mr. Nicosa?
Here.
Ms. Hanson? Here. Mr. Bonneville?
Here.
All present, sir.
Thank you, sir. All that are able, would you please rise for the invocation given by Pastor Marquita Brooks, and please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance given by Warren White of Achilles Elementary School.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we come before you even now to invite your presence into this Board of Supervisors meeting. We entreat your wisdom and your power. You know all the things on the agenda, and so we ask that you manifest here your presence, that there be peace, there be wisdom, there be unity, and we thank you for your blessings on this meeting. In your name we pray. Amen.
Please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Pastor. Thank you, Warren. Next up, we have approval of the minutes of the February 24th and February 27th meetings. We have a motion. We have a second. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? No. Next, we have adoption of the agenda. We have a motion. We have a second. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Next, we have approval of the consent agenda. We have a motion. We have a second. Is there any further discussion? Okay. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Next up, we have matters presented by the board. You don't want to let everybody know? Okay. Dr. Worth is currently rebuilding. So he's fine. We're glad he's here. We're glad you are here. I think I'll save any of mine for supervisor discussion later. You good? Are you okay?
Last Friday before last now, we had a meeting with VDOT, came in and talked about, with them tearing the tolls down, what potentially we could be done for a project for beautification at the point. So Ms. Ducey Ortiz, Ms. Rizzio, Mr. Lewis, I met with VDOT, and they're going to come up with some ideas of what can be done, most cost effective, but still do something for the entrance to the county.
Very good. Any other board members? Mr. Baines, county administrator items, and I left the big one for you. Oh, yeah.
Thank you. Just a couple of real quick ones. Next week, I'll be at the VLGMA conference Thursday and Friday, and the week after that, Regine will be at a conference out at Hotel Roanoke for the opioids. Tax bills did get mailed yesterday, so people start receiving those in their mailboxes. As you'll see, I've been working some on the positions that are open and our organizational chart. And I think there was one more I had out here, but now I've lost it in all my notes. Oh. So we talked about enforcement and such, but I now get a report monthly from our gentleman who does enforcement on the code side, and it went up from 1 page to 2 pages. So he's doing that. I do get these. If you want them forwarded on to you, I can forward them on to you and show you which locations he's working on. All right? We've got that. And then the last thing is, yesterday we opened the bids for the Gloucester Volunteer Fire and Rescue Station 1. And all we have right now is the bid tally sheet. We're working through that to make sure that we vet the low bidder right now. But we got 3 bids in, and they came in, and the apparent low bidder is Dave and Ice Builders. And it came in, I guess maybe 3 or 5 years ago, we talked maybe it was about $11 million, $12 million. Right now, the base price is $13,715,000. So it's really a good, what we feel, at least from the engineering side, that it's good. The other bids were very close to that, so they're all tight, so it meant we had good plans. There's not going to be a lot of change orders there. So it looks like it's going to be moving forward. There's two things I've got to work on. One is the agreement we all have to sign to borrow the money, and then the second one is the agreement between Gloucester Fire and Rescue and the county on the transition of property and funds as we go through this. But I'm working on both. All right?
Yes, very good news. Any questions? All right. Next up, we have a presentation of resolutions of appreciation for service on the Utilities Advisory Committee. I believe both gentlemen are here. Mr. Barrick and Mr. Brown, if y'all meet me at the podium. Oh, yeah, Tommy. Okay. I don't remember when it was, a couple months ago, the board made a decision to disband Utilities Advisory Committee simply because we have so much going on that we could probably handle it quicker with our meetings here. These are two of the longer standing members and probably the last two members that probably attended several meetings in a row. So with that, resolution of appreciation for Keith Barrick for service on the Utilities Advisory Committee. Whereas Mr. Barrick has served as a member of the Gloucester County Utilities Advisory Committee since January 2015 in various roles, including Vice Chairman, and whereas the Gloucester County Board of Supervisors wishes to express its appreciation to him for his years of service that have helped shape the public utilities community that Gloucester is today. And whereas Mr. Barrick has been involved in numerous important decisions of the county, such as comprehensive plan updates, capital improvement project scoring, and in-depth discussions regarding infrastructure updates, and whereas he remains a constant advocate for the county's utility system, department, staff, serving with intelligence, care, and concern for the future of our county. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Gloucester County Board of Supervisors that the County of Gloucester hereby expresses its public appreciation to Mr. Barrick for his valuable public service as a member of the Gloucester Utility Advisory Committee. And further be it resolved by the Gloucester County Board of Supervisors that this resolution be presented to Mr. Barrick as an expression of gratitude for his public service. Don't go in. Okay, this is a resolution for Nathan Brown and his service on the Utilities Advisory Committee. Whereas Mr. Brown served as a member of the Gloucester County Utilities Advisory Committee as an original committee member since September of 2000, and whereas during his 26 years on the committee, Mr. Brown served with intelligence, care, and concern for the future of our county, and whereas he has been involved in numerous important decisions for the county, including the initiation of water and sewer development fees, comprehensive plan updates, capital improvement project scoring, the development of the 2019 Water and Wastewater Master Plan, revisions to mandatory connection policies along Route 17, and many other policies regarding the utility system. And whereas Mr. Brown has been a strong leader serving as chairman of the committee since January of 2008, and whereas he remains a constant advocate for the county's utility system, department, and staff. Whereas the Gloucester County Board of Supervisors wishes to express its appreciation to Mr. Brown for his years of service that have helped shape the public utilities community that Gloucester is today. Now therefore be it resolved by the Gloucester County Board of Supervisors that the County of Gloucester hereby expresses its public appreciation to Mr. Brown for his years of dedicated and committed service to Gloucester County as a member of the Gloucester County Utilities Advisory Committee. Further be it resolved, the Gloucester County Board of Supervisors, that this resolution be presented to Mr. Brown as an expression of gratitude for his public service. Thank you, sir. Thank you. We appreciate everything y'all have done.
Thank you. I was just thinking, when he talked about giving these out, I was thinking I wish Charlie Newbecker was here. He was one of the original members, and he'd probably still be there if he was still with us. And he taught me a whole lot about water, sewer, and civil engineering, a whole lot of things. And I was just thinking about it and how he was the guy that came up with the whole idea of the development fee. Thank you.
Dave, come here. 1 second. Keith, come here.
Hey.
Yeah, take it.
Nice smile, real handsome. Got it, thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, gentlemen. Okay, moving on. Next up, our next scheduled presentation is Oysters and Old Virginia Familiarization Tour, Hunter LeClaire, Tourism Marketing and Events Manager.
Chair, Vice Chair, members of the board, I just want to say I'm excited. I know Hunter's going to do the presentation, but I really am excited about partnering with TBEX and really able to show Gloucester County's history and all these different things we're going to do. TBEX is one of the largest content creators right now in North America, so this conference is going to be a huge one for us, and I'm looking forward to hearing Hunter's presentation and being part of this and going with her and being able to showcase how great Gloucester County is to everywhere, and we go.
Thank you. All right. All good. Do we want to display the slides? All good. Wonderful. Let's see. Okay. Yeah. All right. Okay. Good evening, Mr. Chair, board members, staff. I'd like to briefly share an exciting opportunity that Visit Gloucester is participating in this summer. For the first time, Visit Gloucester will attend the Travel Bloggers Exchange, or TBEX, which is one of the largest travel content creator conferences in the world. This year's North American conference will take place in Richmond later this month, making it especially valuable for Virginia destinations. This event brings together travel bloggers, influencers, photographers, marketers, and tourism professionals from across the nation. With the Commonwealth preparing for the 250th celebration this year, attention right now on Virginia is prime, and this conference provides a unique opportunity to showcase Virginia to a highly engaged travel audience. We are participating as a premier destination sponsor, which gives us several benefits. We will have an exhibit booth throughout the conference, allowing us to promote Gloucester directly to more than 400 travelers. We'll also participate in scheduled speed networking events where we can meet one-on-one with creators and pitch Gloucester as a must-visit destination. In addition, the conference offers professional development opportunities that focus on marketing, content creation, brand development, ROI, and partnerships. One important detail that I'd like to share is that our sponsorship and registration for this event is fully covered through a grant from the Virginia Tourism Corporation. 2 staff members, Ms. Biggers and myself, will attend on behalf of Gloucester. One of the biggest opportunities tied to this conference comes after the conference itself. Because we are a conference sponsor, we are invited to host a familiarization tour, or FAM tour, for travel creators. We developed a 3-day experience called Oysters in Old Virginia, and 4 content creators were selected Gloucester from a competitive list of destinations across the state. This is the first time that Gloucester has partnered with influencers in this way. The Virginia Tourism Corporation has increasingly recognized the benefit of partnering with influencers, specifically for marketing destinations. Virginia Tourism even provides grants, co-ops, and training so that destinations feel more prepared to partner with these creators. Over the course of the weekend, these creators will experience Gloucester firsthand while producing content, sharing their experiences online, and introducing Gloucester to their audiences across multiple platforms. So what will these creators actually be doing while they're here? We've worked with a number of local partners to build a full itinerary that highlights many different aspects of Gloucester. Through sponsorship agreements, participating businesses are providing lodging, meals, and experiences in exchange for the marketing generated through this trip. Guests will spend 1 night at Warner Hall and 1 night at Camp Cardinal. Activities include experiences with the Gloucester Arts Festival, which is happening this month, Main Street, VIMS, Flatiron, and Camp Cardinal. The highlight of this itinerary is an educational boat tour with Matheson Oyster Company. Participants will learn about oyster harvesting, spend time on the water, and enjoy an oyster tasting. This experience also supports Matheson Oyster's interest in expanding into agritourism through Visit Gloucester's support. All meals for the tour have been secured through sponsorships. Our current dining partners include Austin's at Warner Hall, the new Tavern 1642, Dough House, Sweet Tooth Cafe, and Camp Cardinal is supporting a partnership with Bangkok Noi. We have one additional lunch sponsor that we hope to finalize soon. These businesses have been incredibly supportive of the project, and their participation helps us create a high-quality visitor experience while maintaining low cost for the county. One of the most important points that I'd like to highlight is the cost of this project. The county expenses are minimal. Our primary investment is staff time, along with approximately $150 in marketing materials. In addition, Visit Gloucester will pay $300 to Matheson Oyster Company to help offset the cost associated with operating the boat tour and staffing the Sunday excursion. That brings the total county investment to $450. In comparison, our local partners are collectively contributing nearly $3,000 in lodging, meals, experiences, and promotional items. Their willingness to invest in this project demonstrates the value that they see in creator content marketing and bringing new businesses to Gloucester County, bringing new business to their businesses in Gloucester County. I'd also like to recognize a special partner, Whitley's Peanuts, who continuously supports our tourism initiatives and collaborations through their designation as a micro visitor center. The 4 creators selected for this tour represent a diverse audience, geographic market, and travel interest. Collectively, they have substantial followings across multiple social media platforms. What's especially encouraging is that they chose Gloucester from a very competitive list of other trips happening across the state. Using the Virginia Tourism Corporation's marketing value, the content that these creators are expected to produce has a minimum value of just over $10,000. However, based on the itinerary that we've developed and the amount of content that we expect these creators to be posting throughout the weekend, I can confidently say that this value is more in line with $30,000. Beyond the numbers, the real goal is to inspire future visitors. Every post, video, article, story introduces Gloucester to a new audience who will come and stay in our hotels, dine in our restaurants, and shop at our businesses. And that's the long-term return that we're working towards. So I thank you for your time and attention, and I would be happy to answer any questions about the conference, the tour, or the partnerships that make this opportunity possible.
Any questions of Ms. LeClaire? Seeing none, thank you. We look forward to a successful weekend.
Thank you.
Okay, next up is our public comment period. When you come up to speak, please state your name, your magisterial district. Please remember that we do have 4 public hearings on tap for tonight. Please hold your comments for the public hearings until we open the comment period for those public hearings. I'll do my best with the help of Mr. Wilmot to make sure we keep you on task with where you're supposed to be. With that, I'll open public comment period.
I actually wasn't planning to comment, but I'm so glad I was prepared to do so. Thank you. Again, you know, I'm Pastor Apostle Marquita Brooks with Antioch Baptist Church, the historic Antioch Church. And we are having the Antioch Homecoming coming up. The reason I'm sharing this with you all is because it's a collaborative event with the Fairfield Foundation, which is, of course, you know, the archaeological foundation that's right up the street. The goal is to really highlight the historic nature of this region, particularly where Antioch is and where Fairfield is. They actually have a stewardship over some of the old plantations in the area. And so area churches, businesses, and organizations are coming together because we actually work together with the Fairfield Foundation to spotlight the history of this area and to really talk about how we can collaborate. So the final weekend of this month is where we're going to be gathering at Antioch. Friday night, it'll be at 6 p.m., and then Saturday, we'll be there from 2 to 5 p.m. In the morning on Saturday, we actually are doing, we are collecting oral histories. So Saturday, June 27th, from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., we're collecting oral histories of citizens in the area whose family members have been here for generations. We are archiving that at William and Mary, and we've been doing that for 2 years. And so I want to encourage you all to actually think about dropping by. It's something that's open for the whole community. It's absolutely spotlighting the history here and collaborating, bringing us together so we can bring more spotlight. Actually, thought about it when the last presentation came forth. I said, well, we're spotlighting the area as well and looking at the history. And so I want to encourage you all to think about joining us if you would like to share. We've got speakers sharing from Fairfield. We've got speakers sharing from other churches. We're going to talk about how some of the churches in the area branched out of other churches historically and what that connection is. And we do work. I'm actually on the Fairfield Foundation's Family Circle, which brings together the descendants of slaves and the descendants of enslavers, who many of them are like cousins. And we talk about that history and we heal. And so there's lots of different things that we're doing to kind of bring unity in the community, working across lots of different barriers. So if any of you would want to come, or if you'd like to share, or if it in any way matches up with the goals of the Board of Supervisors and anything we can do in our collaboration to support your goals, let me know. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else wishing to come forward? Ms. Cronin.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have one comment that was submitted from Kenny Hogg Sr. from Gloucester Point. A couple of months ago, I once suggested developing a utilities asset inventory and management plan, which appears to have been considered and was rebranded to a needs assessment or audit. Several meetings ago, the utilities director said the procurement process for professional services for the needs assessment or audit was on hold because there were things that could be done by the department internally to reduce the cost of professional services. What is being handled internally to reduce the cost of the professional services, and how long will it further delay the procurement process? You have identified 3 initial areas to consider for the forensic audit the community is calling for. A forensic audit of the utilities department should be at the very top of the list. As I hope you are all aware, a forensic audit evaluates a lot more than just the numbers. It also evaluates management. The only reason I can come up with as to why utilities is not even being considered is because all of you are terrified of what the audit findings will be. Gloucester County's Virginia's Utilities Enterprise Department is the definition of mismanagement, neglect, fraud, waste, and abuse. I suggest you add utilities to the list of initial areas to be considered for a forensic audit. And then the rest of his comments for the public hearing.
Seeing no other citizens come forward, I will close the public comment period. We will now move to our public hearings. The first public hearing tonight is a public hearing to consider a conditional use permit application, CUP 26-01, for a utility-scale solar energy facility known as Fox Mill Solar. Ms. Ann Ducey-Ortiz.
Good evening. Get this up. So what I'm going to do, I actually have a pretty long presentation, so I'm going to go through it as quickly as possible, and if you want me to stop at any one point, just let me know. What we're going to do is similar to what we did at the Planning Commission. These 2 solar projects are very similar, so we're going to go through all the similarities first for both of them, and then do Fox Mill Solar first, have the public hearing on that, and then do Daffodil Fields next. So, so I just went over that. So, again, this has been a long-going process. We started meeting with the applicants. They did a pre-application meeting. We've had multiple meetings since. The Planning Commission held their public hearing in May, and tonight we'll have your public hearing, and then you'll also see this again in July when they come to you about a siting agreement. Sorry, going too fast. This just gives you an idea where the 2 projects are. So the Daffodil Fields is on the north and the Fox Mill is on the south. There's the Beaver Dam Reservoir. So both along Ferries Mill Road on the west side, and they're pretty close to each other. Each are about 50 acres of panels, but surrounded by a much larger acres of woodlands and fields. So again, this kind of describes the area. You could see the different parcels mostly have been used for timbering historically, and then are surrounded by very low-density residential and other agricultural uses. Oh, there we go. Sorry. So this is these are the 2 proposed projects. You see there's the developers entered into long-term lease agreements with the property owners. These are proposed to be 6 megawatts utility scale energy facilities. Most of the developed area will be in the front of the properties along Ferry's Mill Road, covering about 50 acres of land on each site, and would power the equivalent of about 1,000 households. There'll be ground-mounted rotating solar arrays, and the interconnections, you can see those red dots on the plans, that's right along Ferry's Mill Road. That's where they're going to interconnect with the power grid. There are some wetlands on the site, and they are proposing to avoid the wetlands. And they will have a 75-foot buffer around the entire property, around the array. But they are proposing for both projects to keep all the existing woodland between the arrays and the road there, in addition to the 75 feet. And there'll be security fencing around the solar projects. And they're also required to get approval from Virginia Department of Environmental Quality for the permit by rule, and from the Virginia SCC. So these are the conditions of approval that were recommended by the Planning Commission. I'm not going to go through all of them, but they're all meant to mitigate the impacts of the project. And I'll be hitting on all of them as we go through the presentation. So the zoning in the area is it's all zone RC1, which is our agricultural district, rural countryside. There's a little bit of that orange is the suburban countryside. So this area has been historically used for timbering and agriculture, and it is proposed to remain that way. So again, it's an agricultural district meant to conserve farm and forest land, preserve natural features in the rural landscape, and minimize the impacts on agricultural land, farming, and silviculture, and sensitive environmental features. There's a lot of uses that are permitted in all different ways, so by right, by special exception, and by conditional use permit. This, as you know, is a proposal by conditional use permit. We only have one other project in the RC1 that was approved prior to it being a CUP in the RC1. If those of you that have been on the board know that we cap the amount of land that can be used for solar facilities to 2% in RC1 and SC1. The General Assembly just passed legislation that kind of negates that cap, so we'll be working on a code amendment to address that. But essentially, the Carvers Creek project, The Carvers Creek project had used up most of the area that was available for development in the RC1, and they didn't do all their projects, so when phase 3 expired, it opened up 155 acres, and that's when this applicant came in to apply for this project. So the comprehensive plan guidance, the comprehensive plan talks about this being as a rural residential designation. Areas are mainly rural with low-density residential development on private wells and septic, and served by secondary roads with limited capacity. Low-density residential development along existing forestry and agricultural areas are supported, and the continuation of traditional uses are encouraged. So that's the comprehensive plan guidance. Another very important feature is state code does require that the Planning Commission determines that these projects are substantially in accord with our comprehensive plan. And again, those of you that have been on the board for a while know that we had added Appendix J to ordinance to our comprehensive plan because we really didn't have any guidance for these type of facilities. So the Planning Commission reviewed these applications and through Appendix J, and all those details are in the staff report, but essentially they determined that both were in accord with our comprehensive plan. So now I'll just go through some of the impacts. The transportation impacts are not expected to be much at all. The current trips along the road segments in front of Fox Mill Solar are 2,200, and in front of Daffodil Fields is 1,600. Most of the impacts will be during development, and once development has occurred, they anticipate about one vehicle per week. I keep clicking too much. Some of the other impacts or potential transportation impacts, each project will have one entrance on Ferry's Mill Road. The projects were reviewed by the VDOT and Gloucester Fire and Rescue. Gloucester Fire and Rescue did ask for a wider entrance, and so they were accommodated in the revised plans. And then VDOT will deal with the project when it comes in for site plan approval. There's been a number of conditions related to traffic that the applicant has provided, including pre- and post-construction evaluation of the road to put the road back to the way it was when they got there. Construction management and mitigation plan, which is pretty detailed. There are also, hours of operation and making sure they're not having deliveries when buses are coming to the site. So there's quite a few conditions of use that they propose to mitigate impacts to traffic. Fiscal impacts, there's quite a bit. It's definitely a positive fiscal impact. I'm not going to go through all this, but there are some impacts. There's not a lot of jobs created permanently, but there are some jobs and some proposed impacts based on that. Tax revenue, definitely increase in tax revenue for this project. And then also the machinery and tools tax will also increase the tax revenue that we receive from these properties. So the county assessor did review the applications and generally agreed with the projected revenue estimates. He actually felt that the revenues might be a little underestimated based on the real estate tax, and then the personal property tax will be assessed by the SCC. Again, these facilities are really not expected to generate increased need for county services, and then we will be hearing about a siting agreement next month, and I think the applicant might just talk about that a little when he gets up to speak. The environmental impact, again, there are wetlands on the site. The original plan that was submitted did show some impacts to the wetlands, and then they were able to revise the plan to kind of take everything out of the steep slopes and wetlands. So actually, they were in the steep slopes, not the wetlands. So they're really avoiding all the RPA and wetland areas. They're also doing soil and groundwater testing as a condition of use. And as you know, we do use contracted inspectors to look at ENS and stormwater to help us to make sure that the site is in compliance with all the ENS and stormwater. So one of the concerns is that this is very close to our reservoir, and so the developer provided this drainage plan to kind of show how the drainage works, where the two sites are located. The biggest thing will be to make sure that we have strong controls for ENS and stormwater to make sure there's no impacts to the wetlands and our reservoir. So some of the other potential impacts, the existence of wells and drain fields are unlikely. Both property owners have said they've been using the property historically for timbering. Again, the applicant has increased the entrance for fire and rescue, have emergency personnel access to the site, and the electrical transformers will not be enclosed, which was a concern of the Gloucester Fire and Rescue. As you know, we added a lot of requirements to our ordinance, so they did provide a health and safety report with the application and determined that there are limited risks to health and safety. Noise, one thing we learned with Carver's Creek, that noise was a big issue up there, and they are proposing limits to address noise and impacts from construction, so limiting the hours of operation, again, having the traffic mitigation plan. So there's a lot of proposals to mitigate the impacts, especially during constructions. And then there will be a person identified that we can contact if there are any issues or we get complaints. Our ordinance requires a glare analysis, and they provided that in their report, and does not propose a risk to air traffic or the roads. Some other impacts. So the Fox Mill Solar is 500 feet from the nearest residence and 600 feet from Ferris Mill Road. Daffodil Fields is 275 from the nearest residence and 100 feet from Ferris Mill Road. The solar panels are about 10 feet high at maximum tilt, and again, there would be the continuous buffer around the solar panels with a larger buffer along Ferris Mill Road. The conditions of uses are also proposed to limit impacts of wildlife, so they have time of year restrictions, and they're proposing a pollinator plan to help with the monarch butterfly. They are proposing an archaeological study of the area where land will be, disturbance will occur, and a soil search identified that some areas are proposed as prime farmland, but again, they've been used as forestry for the last couple of decades. So they are, as required by state code and by our ordinance, they are proposing a decommissioning plan and have details regarding that. So they'll have to submit the decommissioning plan and a surety for that, which would not include the salvage value of the panels. And then they are also proposing, as the General Assembly did pass legislation, that if a solar facility is approved by CUP, a battery storage facility would be permitted by right use without any additional review by the locality. So they are propose a condition that they will not have a battery storage facility at either one of these sites. And they also, our ordinance requires the use to be established within 2 years. They're requesting a 5-year for the use to be established within 5 years because they have to go through a lot of permitting before they can actually start. So again, they're proposing the project to be substantially in accord with the conceptual plan that you've seen, security fencing, wiring to be underground except where the point of interconnection, again, compliance with all federal and state laws, and if there's a conflict, the stronger would apply. So these are so as you know, a conditional use permit is not guaranteed, and it is, looked at on a site-by-site basis, and it's not always, in some situations, it may not be appropriate for that district in which it's located. So these are the conditions. I'm not going to go through it for both of them. Now I'm going to go and just focus on the Daffodil Field Solar and the impacts on that before we open the public hearing for that. So if you could switch PowerPoints for me, Trish, thank you. The Daffodil. Yeah, you're right, Fox Mill, sorry. Doesn't go in alphabetical order. All right, so this is the public hearing for the Fox Mill Solar Project. The applicants are Fairfield Land and Timber LLC, Joseph Ferry is the property LLC owner, and Hexagon Energy is the developer. So the application is to establish a utility scale solar through the CUP process. So again, we talked about this project actually has multiple tax parcels, but it's about, I think, 245 acres, but they're only developing about 50 acres of that larger site. It's across the street from Hickory Hill Lane. It's roughly 1.5 miles north of the intersection of Route 17 and Ferris Mill Road. And again, it's mostly used forested land for commercial timberland. This, again, you've seen this plan, but this is the proposed plan. The blue are the panels, the pink are the steep slopes, and then the kind of the darker blue is the supposed stormwater management facilities. But all this would have to be looked at on a detailed site plan. And again, that red dot is where it will interconnect with the power line. So again, the Planning Commission did review this related to Appendix J and determined that it was in compliance with the comprehensive plan in accordance with state code. Again, that is something that is designated for the Planning Commission, so that's something the board doesn't have to worry about. We looked at all the impacts before on the joint application. And so this, again, all this is detailed very heavily in your staff report, but we found that this project met the CUP criteria. The Planning Commission reviewed each and every one of these at their public hearing and determined they were consistent with these criteria. So the staff actually has staff recommendation is for approval, but in your decision-making, you have three options. One is recommendation, one is to approve, one is to deny, and the other is to wait for the siting agreement and approve it in July, if that's what you propose. The issue is we didn't have time to advertise for the siting agreement, so we couldn't do it tonight. So these are just reasons, again, that are detailed in your staff report about all the reasons to approve the application. It meets the criteria of the ordinance. They're avoiding steep slopes. They provided access for emergency vehicles. I'm just going to quickly go through them. They are not, they're proposing to not have a battery storage facility on the site. They are proposing to do soil and groundwater sample testing. It meets many of the criteria of your comprehensive plan, the economic development chapter for increasing infrastructure, minimizing conflicts from commercial and industrial development, and promoting economic development in appropriate and suitable areas. Transportation to ensure development and redevelopment have minimal impacts, and then natural resource promote and provide support for natural resource-based businesses, encourage preservation of existing tree canopy on new developments and redevelopments, and consider impacts in natural heritage features and species. And then it also meets the cultural and historic resources by proposing to do the archaeology work on the site. So these are all factors that are included in the potential resolution of approval that's in your packet. And then some factors that could support denying it. There will be, it is in proximity to resource protection areas that, would have to be looked at through the Chesapeake Bay Administrator. The one about the encroachment in stormwater and 8% slopes, that actually has been addressed, so that isn't an impact, but the Planning Commission chose to keep that condition in the conditions of approval in case it ends up going into steep slopes during site plan review. And then the solar energy facility is on land currently used for commercial timberling and not otherwise cleared, so it might have greater impacts than that. And then it's upstream from our Beaver Dam Reservoir, so again, if there were some negative impacts from ENS or stormwater issues, that could impact our reservoir. And then with the comp plan goals, looking at water quality impacts and designing projects to minimize impacts. So those are some potential reasons that were included in a resolution to deny if that's how you choose to go forward. So staff recommended that the Planning Commission recommend approval, and the Planning Commission did determine that the project was substantially in accord with the county's comprehensive plan. The Planning Commission modified some of the conditions of approval. Again, the 75-foot buffer is just a continuous buffer of existing vegetation. They simplified the language. They did keep in about the 8% slopes, and so they kept the one about the slopes in there just in case the project ended up having to go into steep slopes. So this was a vote by the Planning Commission. We had 2 absent, but generally it was approved unanimously by those that were present. And again, these are the conditions. I'm not going to go through them, but that were recommended to be approved as part of the conditional use permit with this application. So that's the end of my presentation. I went through as quickly as possible. The applicant is here to do a short presentation as well. Let him introduce himself.
Good evening, Chairman Crisco, members of the board. Thank you for allowing me to address you this evening. My name is Sean Hirschberger. I'm representing Hexagon Energy here for the public hearing for Fox Mill Solar. Before jumping into the project, I just want to introduce Hexagon as a company. We are based in Charlottesville, Virginia. We do renewable energy projects really nationwide, but we have a strong preference for bringing renewable energy and private investment to the Commonwealth. With me this evening, I have 2 other members of our Virginia team, Esther Reckelman and Steve Hansman, as well as there's a picture of the whole team up there. We also have with us this evening Karen Pasho, representing our attorney, and Jordan Brooks, representing Kimley Horn Engineers, in case there are engineering questions that are needed. So as I think Ms. Ducey-Ortiz did a very thorough job of presenting the kind of basics of the project. So I'm going to be as quick as I can. Really, I want to be here to answer questions that you all might have about the project. So as mentioned, this is the project on Ferries Mill Road. The landowners, Pearfield Land and Timber, have owned it for several years. Recently acquired one of the last parcels in the kind of collection there. And they've used it for timbering and for recreational uses. The last full clearing occurred in 1995. Some limited clearing has happened since. This is a 6 megawatt distributed generation solar facility. So one thing to note on that, the difference in distributed generation is this is energy that is produced here in Gloucester County that would be used here in Gloucester County. So it connects directly to the distribution lines and goes to the WAN substation located just a little northeast of where we are right now. And then it goes out to Gloucester County residents along those distribution lines. So highlights of the project, as was mentioned, it's roughly 50 acres. One of the highlights of this site, of both sites really, but is the mature existing vegetation that's present. So this is able to be effectively hidden from view from neighbors and from passersby on Ferries Mill Road. One question that always comes up, which just want to address, is decommissioning. Decommissioning and removal of the panels would be paid for by the project, not by the landowner, not by the residents of Gloucester County. And the Gloucester County ordinance requires that a surety bond be put in place for the lifetime of the project, updated every 5 years to make sure that the cost keeps up with inflation. So project benefits, I know that it was mentioned siting agreement. We can have a much larger discussion on that. Just to mention that my figure is slightly higher than was mentioned in Ms. Ducey Ortiz's presentation because of the siting agreement component that would bring in so Gloucester County has not formally adopted a revenue sharing ordinance. So the siting agreement looks at the M&T tax and the siting and the revenue share tax side by side. And any year where the revenue share amount would exceed the M&T tax, there's a voluntary additional payment from the project to the county. So that's why it generates, significantly more in voluntary fees. Let's see, environmental considerations, as was mentioned, the design avoids impacts on wetlands, streams, protects natural and cultural resources, avoids high slopes, and limits the clearing to roughly 60 acres that would be needed. One thing I want to highlight on this concept plan here is the access to Ferries Mill Road. We're intentionally angling the road, so even if you are standing on Ferries Mill Road looking into the entryway, you still won't be able to actually see the fence line. And we created that curvature of the road to make sure that we have that full buffer. So view shed considerations, it's typically what we hear a lot of when we go talk to neighbors. So wanted to show when we say mature existing vegetation, what does that mean? These were taken, you can see on the concept plan, it has a little hexagon. That's where I was standing when I took the pictures. So this shows what it actually looks like today on Ferries Mill Road and what it would look like after the project's completed. This is slightly north of the entry point, and again, that is the existing vegetation. And then I took one more vantage point from the north looking south, so you can see that that is still healthy, mature existing vegetation there. Environmental considerations, we've kind of covered these a good bit, but one thing to note is the ground cover that would be placed under the panels would be Virginia native naturalized grasses. One thing that we see pretty regularly is these facilities become kind of a nice biodiverse environment in what used to be just stands of timber. Community outreach, we've spent a lot of time on Ferries Mill Road reaching out to neighbors that are adjacent to the property and trying to communicate with them to see what their concerns are. One thing, viewshed has been the most common thing that comes up, or concern that they would prefer this over something that's more intrusive. We did host a community meeting February 10th. We had 9 community members attend, and again, viewshed and preference for less impactful development were kind of the theme of most comments. So the conformance with local regulations has been gone over pretty extensively, so I'll skip through that. One thing I do want to point out, diligence and other approvals, this is really a conceptual conversation. So we're having, this is the conceptual conditional use phase, but there are several other layers of due diligence that both Gloucester County and the state of Virginia will be able to have on this project. So obviously the permit by rule with Virginia DEQ, site plan approval, stormwater management plan, erosion sediment control, electrical permit, land disturbance permit, building permits are all going to have to run through Gloucester County. So there's many layers of kind of due diligence to make sure that the project delivers on everything that we say it'll deliver on. Construction will take about 6 months. This is, I understand the noise of a significantly larger construction project was an issue. This one, I would like to think it'll be a lot less intrusive. We're talking probably like 2 to 3 weeks for the pile driving period of it, but that's also confined to business hours, if you will. Once it's operational, there is no off-site noise. emissions, dust, lighting, or viewshed impacts. The maintenance of these facilities, they're monitored remotely 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and low traffic, really the only ongoing maintenance that has to happen on a site like this is mowing the grass and occasional inspections. And then, as mentioned previously, decommissioning will be handled by the project, not the landowner, not Gloucester County. So in conclusion, this is a financial benefit to the county, as well as providing more secure and more reliable energy source that's generated locally. We've taken a lot of steps to get community feedback and have conversations with neighbors, which we feel it's helped make the project better. Environmental considerations, we've discussed those at great length. And also the one highlight to hit on lastly is it's a low impact compared to alternative development options. With that, I will say thank you very much for allowing me to address you, and happy to answer any questions that any of y'all have.
Any questions? Or do we want to move to the public hearing and then ask questions? Okay. Don't go too far away.
Yes,
Probably
sir.
have questions.
Yes, sir.
Okay, with that, we're going to now open the public hearing for conditional use permit for CUP 26-01 Fox Mill Solar, which is the one we just looked at. If you want to talk about the other one, please wait until we get to that public hearing. But for this one, please come forward, state your name and magisterial district, and limit your comments to 3 minutes.
Good afternoon. My name is Benjamin Tate. I'm from the Ware District. On the first one with Fox Mill Solar, I believe the public has a lack of information. If you go to your porthole, you have a link for Fox Mill and a link for Daffodil Fields, and they both open Daffodil Fields. So many of us were unable to look over this CUP. Thank you.
Good evening, Chair Crisco and members of the board. My name is Seth Cogbill. I'm non-resident of the county from Henrico County, but my name is Seth Cogbill, as I mentioned. I'm a community engagement representative for Energy Right. We are a local nonprofit focused on clean energy education. I'm here today really to speak to both projects. But first and foremost, just want to emphasize the importance of landowners having the ability to make decisions about how they use their property here in Gloucester. Obviously, these parcels are connected to many landowners, and so there's a lot of community members and residents in the county that will be better served by the projects here this evening. Leasing land for solar helps preserve open space, maintains the rural character of the community, keep land in a low-impact use rather than seeing it converted into subdivided housing developments or other large-scale commercial development projects needing rezoning down the road is substantially better use of the land and long-term services for the county. Solar provides an opportunity for counties to generate meaningful local revenue without being placed additional strains on public services. Because solar facilities do not increase population density or require new infrastructure or add any significant daily traffic, they deliver steady tax revenue to the county over time without added fiscal burdens. It is also worth noting the role of distributed solar. These are, as Sean mentioned, these are smaller scale facilities built closer to where electricity is used, connecting right to the distribution line. They typically connect to those existing grids, so they don't require any additional infrastructure, resulting in a smaller footprint, shorter development timelines, and fewer system-wide impacts, while still contributing to the overall load in the county. Overall, we believe that the developments are highly beneficial assets to the county and for the residents themselves. And every year we conduct an annual statewide poll. It shows, and this year's result, we found that 83% of our respondents, it was roughly 861 voters from across the state. They believe that energy security and independence is a top priority. Furthermore, 93% of respondents are concerned about the utility costs and rising energy costs, and we find that these projects are very helpful in dissolving those situations. So just thank you for this evening, and looking forward to seeing the votes. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Matthew Nash, and I'm with the Ware District. I just got a couple points. I've heard, steady revenue over, a duration or whatever. So you look at the $685,000. That's about a 1 cent on your property tax, but that's over a 35-year plan, right? So you're looking at $2,100 based on Ms. Ortiz's presentation per year on the tax rate over a $700 is like $690 something. Just to put that in perspective, with the CUP that was discussed a couple weeks ago, a $500,000 house could generate up to $3,000 in tax revenue. So in reality, you could build one house on this 50 acres. You can build a $300,000 house, reassess it at $500,000, and then you just made up all your tax revenue. So I just wanted to point that out. It looks as if the county is selling out to solar with the 5 projects that we've already got and these 2 additional and 7-Elevens or gas stations. So I just want to say please vote no. And I don't think the $2,100 is worth the destruction of the environment. Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to come forward and speak on the Fox Mill Solar conditional use permit? Seeing none, Ms. Cronin, any phone calls or emails?
Yes, Mr. Chair. From Kenny Hogg Senior in Gloucester Point. No more industrial solar farms in Gloucester County. If you want to play in the utility world, start by cleaning up the mess that has been created over decades in our utilities department. Without sufficient, reliable public water and sewer, residential and commercial growth will continue to be stifled in Gloucester County. Second comment was from Tiffany Stevens in the Petsworth District. Chairman and members of the Board of Supervisors, I respectfully request that the Board deny conditional use permit application CUP 2601 for the proposed Fox Mill Solar Energy Facility. While I support responsible renewable energy development, I do not believe this project is the best use of land within Gloucester County's rural countryside district. The purpose of the RC1 district is to preserve the county's rural character, agricultural resources, open space, and natural environment. Approval of this application would further industrialize rural land that has historically supported forestry, agriculture, and low-density residential uses. The proposed facility would place a utility-scale industrial energy project on approximately 50 acres along Ferries Mill Road in an area surrounded by residential, agricultural, forested, and undeveloped properties. Residents who chose to live in this rural area did so with the expectation that the county would protect its rural landscape and scenic character. Large-scale solar arrays, security fencing, equipment pads, access roads, and associated infrastructure are inconsistent with that character. I am also concerned about the cumulative impact of solar development in Gloucester County. The county has already approved multiple utility-scale solar facilities in recent years. At some point, the loss of rural and agricultural land to industrial-scale solar energy production begins to alter the very character that residents value and that the comprehensive plan seeks to protect. The fact that acreage remains available under the county's solar cap does not mean every proposed project should be approved. In addition, questions remain regarding long-term impacts on neighboring properties, stormwater management, wildlife habitat, and the eventual decommissioning of the facility decades from now. The county should place the burden on the applicant to clearly demonstrate that these impacts will be fully mitigated and that taxpayers will not bear future costs. Renewable energy projects should be directed toward previously disturbed land, commercial and industrial areas, brownfields, rooftops, parking canopies, and other locations where they do not permanently change Gloucester's rural landscape. Approval of Fox Mill Solar would move the county in the opposite direction. For these reasons, I respectfully urge the Board of Supervisors to deny CUP 2601 and preserve the rural character, natural resources, and quality of life that make Gloucester County unique. Thank you for your consideration. And then we had one comment that was submitted anonymously, so in accordance with our policy, that's not being read.
Thank you. With that, I will close the public hearing, and now I'll open up questions from our board members of staff and/or Hexagon Energy. Dr. Lemming.
I got a list. First, let me start off with the easy ones. Is it true, Mr. Hirschberger, that Hexagon is not going to purchase this property? You're going to lease the property from the landowners?
Yes, sir, that is correct. It's both projects are long-term leases with the existing landowners.
Buried in that question then comes the next question. What do you anticipate the lifespan of such a project?
So the anticipated lifespan is 40 years.
40?
Yes, sir.
Okay, that was one of my questions. In the decommissioning plan, I understand the surety bond, by the way, and I understand the surety bond gets revisited every 5 years to make sure it keeps up with the real cost. I understand that. But in the decommissioning plan, is the intent to return the property to Forestall?
Yes, sir. So, well, obviously, it would be returned to the owners in a state that they could resume timber operations.
That was the question, and that was the answer I was looking for.
I wanted to make sure.
Okay. It wasn't a trick.
Okay.
Are these dynamic panels? Do they move?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes,
I figured they did. Do you have a construction contractor yet?
No, sir, we do not. This is still in the.
We had some issues. We still have some issues with Carver's Creek and the contractor who is on site trying to close permits by, I think, July 1, which is probably not going to happen, but that's just me. All right. Can I ask Ms. NDC Ortez a question or two? So, on our family farm in Dutton, Virginia, if we take that land and let's say we want to make it residential, which wouldn't fly, but just hypothetically if we wanted to do that, currently we have the privilege of what's called land use taxation on our farm. So if the tax rate is $1, then we're paying 50 cents on that dollar because it's in land use. However, if we decided that we wanted to build a subdivision, we don't have desire to build a subdivision, I believe we have to go back a certain number of years and pay the full tax. Is that correct?
Yes, 3 years.
And I believe it's 5 years.
Is it 5 or 3?
What's that?
I asked Sean McNash whether any of these properties were in land use. He said no, they're not in land use. So then they're not subject to the rollback tax.
Okay, that was actually going to be my next question, which was, are any of these properties in land use?
No.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next question.
They are, actually.
So Mr. McNash
He was
misinformed
smiling,
me.
because that's the Commissioner of Revenue, so I guess he misunderstood. But they once they come out of, once the site plan gets approved, or actually once the CUP gets approved, they automatically get assessed as industrial,
So these properties are in land use.
according to the applicant.
that
Yes,
was
So
my
they would be subject to the rollback taxes.
yes.
Do we have a sum that they would be due for the rollback taxes?
That was my question.
I don't.
Okay, could we get that, please? Thank you.
That was actually, and I want to go a little further on that if I could, but I appreciate council's clarification because council is exactly where I was going. So in the conditional use permit, as I read it, are we approving conditional use of 50 acres or are we approving 245 acres of which 50 is going to get used for solar?
We would just be used based on the conceptual plan, so it's 50 acres of the panels. I think Mr. Hirschberger said it's about 60 acres, but the rest would, even when you do land use, they only take out what you're using for your house. So they would take this plan, take out what's being used for the commercial, and the rest could stay in land use. And I'm not the Commissioner of Revenue.
As I read the applications, it looks like to me, it looks like they're asking for a conditional use permit for the totality of the property, proffering that they're only going to use 50 acres for the solar panels. Do I misread the application?
The application includes, like, this property includes multiple tax parcels, but as you can see, it crosses multiple tax parcels, so all those parcels have to be considered. But they also, a conditional use is having the project developed significantly consistent with this plan. So, basically, if they went outside these boundaries, they'd have to come back to modify their conditional use permit.
Actually, I'm asking the land use taxation question. Is it applied to 50 or 60 acres, or is it applied to the entire parcel?
My understanding is it applied only to the area being developed, which would be about 60 acres. And that's true when you have a farm and they'll take your house out. So the area around your house does not get included in the land use taxation, is my understanding.
It's my understanding.
Mr. Crisco's nodding.
It's my understanding that because this is going to be built partially on these parcels, the areas that this is being built on parcel 30552 and 16, whatever, the amount of acreage that is built on each one of those will be taxed at the rate, again, I'm not the commissioner either, will be taxed at the rate of industrial use, while the rest will remain in that land use category.
I understand what's being said, and that's actually not my question. My question is, as written, is that what it says?
I believe so, and Mr. Wilmot's here, but one of the first conditions, it's going to be developed as this plan shows. The rest of the area is going to stay in timbering, and I do know, I went to both of the community meetings and
37.
met both of the property owners, and that is their intent, to continue to use the rest of the land for, hunting, farming, forestry. So it would really, we can confirm that with the commissioner, but I'm pretty sure that it would just be the area that's in that that conceptual plan.
Well, I'm going to read it to you, and I know I'm being a dog with a bone, and maybe I'm way off base, but whereas a conditional use permit, CUP 2001, has been submitted by Pierfield Land and Timber, I'm skipping a little bit, to permit the establishment of a utility solar energy facility on tax map parcels 1739, 1740, 1741, 1744, 242, 243, identified as RPCs, and it lists the numbers. There's nothing in there stating approximately 60 acres.
So the first condition, so if you go to your page 39 of your packet, the first condition, the solar energy facility approved pursuant to this conditional use permit shall be constructed in substantial conformity to the conceptual master plan entitled Fox Mill LLC, 6 megawatt solar generator site plan, which is on file with Gloucester County Planning and Zoning Environmental Programs.
Totaling a total of how many acres in that paragraph?
It doesn't have
It's
the
not
acreage,
mentioned.
but, well, and that is because until we get the final site plan, we don't know exactly how it's going to be, because this is a conceptual plan, and this happens on all our development plans. When you get engineering done, things might change. So that's why it's substantially in conformance, but not exactly, because it's not an engineered plan. So,
This is the one you're reading from is the one that requires the siting agreement, correct? The first one in the.
They both.
Okay. My understanding is they both do.
So, we can get you that additional information from the commissioner, but I believe that's how they do it on farms, where they just take an area out for the house and, whatever's not being used for a farm, and then the rest could be in land use. So it would be done, when the assessor and the commissioner make that determination, which I think it would be when it got an approved site plan.
On your revenue estimates, did you account for the land being taxed at an industrial rate?
We used their estimates and had them reviewed by the assessor, and so he concurred with them.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Dr. Orth?
With regard to this project, many of us are well aware of the issues surrounding the Carvers Creek project, and especially the environmental concerns. We know we had a supervisor that was assigned, correct, to that Carvers Creek site to make sure that environmental concerns were monitored closely. Will we have a person similar to monitor the conditions that occur with the loss of the vegetation and possible runoff?
Yes, when we adopted one of the ordinances, we added contract inspectors. So the applicant, they'll have their own third-party inspectors, but we have inspectors. We are under contract with AMT, and they go out and inspect the site. Again, this one is much smaller. They cleared way more than this whole site will be cleared at one time up there. And I'm just saying that because things do happen and, they do go out and try to correct, they have to do corrective actions, but sometimes you don't catch it in time. But we will have contract inspectors. It's in our ordinance and it's a requirement of the ordinance.
Yeah, it's my understanding, we pay the contractor, and then the contractor gets paid by the individual, correct? So we
we pay the contractor. We get an invoice and
they reimburse.
Reimburse
correct?
us.
Okay. Safety concerns. What is the concern? What is being done to at least monitor the safety of the site? Since it won't be seen from the road, will be a fence?
It will be fenced, and I'll let the applicant, but it's also going to be monitored virtually, remotely. So I don't know if you want to add to that.
I will just kind of reiterate what was said. It is monitored remotely, so there's no need for additional surveillance, if you will. I did speak with the representative from the fire department, and one of the things that we discussed was making sure that they get tours of the facility once they're operational and once the construction is well underway or substantially finished, so that they are familiar with it, and from a safety standpoint. If I may just briefly, to Dr. Lemming, if I can revisit that question just very quickly. Lots of counties do things differently. We did, in our calculation, we assumed the full release of land use status for all the parcels. So that was our kind of methodology for the way we ran it. Thank you.
One more question. So you indicated that the land the last time it was cleared was 1995. So the vegetation is primarily pine?
Yes, sir.
So I'm assuming there's an economic value associated with the removal of that for whom?
For the landowner.
The landowner.
Yes,
okay.
sir.
Ms. Hanson, then back to you, Dr. Lemming.
Actually, Mr. Schmerger. First of all, I'd like to know who's funding this construction project? Hexagon?
So we do the development of the projects, and then we sell the projects to ultimately be constructed.
So you're going to build this and sell it?
No, we will sell it to the end user who will construct it.
And do we know who that end user will be?
At this moment, no.
And what is to keep the end user in line with the contract they make with us in regards to these solar panels or with the landowner?
Well, this is a pretty substantial investment, and if they don't follow, that's one reason we spend as much time as we do on the conditions and on the contracts to make sure that what we are saying here is what's delivered. So this is for a buyer to come in and do things opposite of what the conditions would be, they would be putting their investment at risk. So that would be, you all have the power to repeal a CUP if somebody is not living up to it.
But we could repeal the CUP, but if the solar panels are already on the land, then who would be responsible for that if that broke down?
They would. The company would be responsible for that. That's what the surety bond is in place for as well.
So when would you have that information of who would, only after the construction would you know who would be picking this up?
No, before the construction. Yes, ma'am. So before the final site plan, there would be, that would be known.
But you don't know now?
No, ma'am.
And why not?
Because we haven't put it in, we haven't entered
I'm just asking.
Yeah, no worries. It's a fair question. We have not entered into the process of sale. So this is going through the local permitting is part of the early stage development. and going through the interconnection process is also part of the early stage development.
And you do the vetting of those companies and the reputation for these
Yes,
types
ma'am.
of projects?
Yes, ma'am. That's one thing, just, from my own personal experience, one thing that I've been with Hexagon for 2 years now, and one reason I chose to come work for Hexagon was because of their reputation of being selective on who they will do business with.
But you do understand that the company that you choose, or that's been presented, decides to buy it, is what's to keep another company from buying that company from buying that company. If you buy a house, Fulton Mortgage is your mortgagee.
Of course.
And then 2 weeks later, you get a letter in the mail and it's Wells Fargo.
Of course.
And
Yes.
so you might upfront vet this company, and they find that it's not as much of an investment as they are, and then another company with not such good reputation comes through and decides to purchase what's left of it. So
I can understand that. I can understand your line of thought here, but I would go back to, it's one reason when we develop projects, we take so much time, we spend so much time with the county staff and with the neighbors to make sure that the CUP, the siting agreement, are as tight as they possibly can be. And I think, to the one line of questioning about the inspections, one thing I would certainly applaud Gloucester County for, and I would quite frankly suggest every county do, is implement that third-party construction monitoring, because that's really, it protects everyone. It protects the company building it, and it protects the county, it protects the neighbors. So that, even just that layer in y'all's ordinance is a tremendous value to make sure that things are 100% done correctly.
the people that voted for the trash dump in Gloucester County, and as a side, some of them are no longer with us on the board, and the county is still, having to mitigate these issues. And I'm probably not going to be alive by the time, most likely will not be alive at the time when these solar panels need to be removed. So I'm making a commitment now to the future of the children and our families in Gloucester County by that. So vetting's important.
Absolutely.
That's all, Mr. Chairman.
Dr. Fleming.
2 questions, Mr. Hirschberg. We have a situation on a much larger facility, which doesn't need to be named at the moment, where they want to have a residual building on the site, and they want a residual septic system on the site. And I didn't see anything in the conditions that there would be no septic systems and no buildings left.
I'm not really sure how to address that, simply because I've worked on a lot of sites, big and small, and I've never seen the need for a residual building. I'm not casting any doubts on their desires. I just, it's not something that is ever been contemplated or foreseen. If you wanted to offer a condition that no building or septic system could be put in, we would have no problems with that.
That was one of my questions.
Okay.
Believe it or not.
Dr. Worth.
So with the history of this project, did you approach the landowner, or did the landowner approach you with regard to this?
We approached the landowner.
Okay. And 6 megawatts is pretty small, in the scheme of what we know of big solar projects. Why small? Why 6 megawatts?
So because these fall into the distributed generation realm, so they're typically in increments of 3. So this is essentially 2 3 megawatt projects co-located. So it's mostly about shoring up the local grid and producing energy near where it's going to be used. Unlike the larger scale ones, they have to be located to the transmission lines, and who knows where they're taking it. But this is local energy for local users.
Any other questions? Okay. So in our agendas, we have 3 options. One is for approval, conditional upon approval of a siting agreement we have approval without the conditional approval of the siding agreement or a resolution for denial. The first one with conditional upon approval for the siding agreement is on page 37. The approval without the siding agreement or without the conditional approval of the siding agreement is on 45, and then the one for denial is on page 53.
Is this unusual for us to vote before we actually get a siding agreement? Is this the way we've been, I mean, maybe you can provide some input on that.
No, sir. What did happen with this one is with the transition we had in the county administrator's office, this probably sat on my desk a little longer than it should have for the siding agreement, so we just couldn't get out the advertisements for the siding agreement. You could have these both at the same time, or like this one, because we did give you the option to be able to approve it based on a siding agreement coming through. You know the package is going to be all together before you actually would have somebody propose to actually come in and build something.
So if we had the first vote, which is approval based on the, well, it's approval on.
It's approved on the condition of
getting the siding.
approval of the siding agreement.
Right, okay. I would like to make that motion to approve the project based on getting the siding agreement.
So that'll be the resolution on page 37.
Right.
Is there a second?
We also have the option of waiting till July when the siding agreement comes in and voting on it then, because we don't have to vote on it tonight. We could wait. And that way it could all be done at one time.
I have no problem withdrawing that motion and wait until July. That's the way the board would like to move.
Ms. Ducey Ortiz, we do have enough timing, correct? I don't want to delay this where it's automatically approved or anything like that either. We have held the public hearing. We have done that portion of it, but I don't want to let this linger out too long either. So just make sure our timing is still good. If we take no action tonight, do the siding agreement, and make this motion in July, we're still good?
Yes.
Okay.
And I would, because you've closed the public hearing, it really would just be about the siding agreement, but then you
Correct.
would have the.
But then we still have to have this vote then, though.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Dr. Lemming?
the siding agreement comes back before the board, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, it's not an administrative siding agreement?
No.
Okay. I would support deferral until July, but I'd like to stick my condition in there that there not be any permanent structures and not be any septic on site. I'm just,
If I
Mr.
may,
Lamont.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, please.
if you go to page 41, prior to final approval of any site plan, a decommissioning plan shall be submitted to the zoning administrator or designee for review and approval. The plan shall outline the required steps for removal of all above and below ground facility components, disposal and/or recycling of waste and materials, soil stabilization, soil testing, and mitigation for any hazardous materials found, and the revegetation and restoration of the native habitat of the property restored in a manner consistent with its condition prior to the property being restored in a manner prior to facility construction, and an estimated cost of such work. The facility construction and decommissioning cost estimate. To ensure sufficient funds are available to the county to conduct the plan, a surety in an amount sufficient for decommissioning the facility and remediating the property, not to include salvage value, shall be posted with the Gloucester County in a form acceptable to the county attorney. So in my estimation, although I certainly agree with Dr. Lemming's concerns, the decommissioning plan and section 5 of your resolution requires restoration of the property to its pre-existing state, including removal of all structures. And I won't sign off on it if it doesn't.
Okay.
Because I have to approve the decommissioning plan. And if the decommissioning plan doesn't require them to restore the property to its pre-facility state, I won't approve it, which means it won't happen.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Dr. Lemming.
Without being argumentative, that would potentially leave a building and a septic field for 40 years.
No, because what he just read to us means they have to take it back to the original state,
I understand that.
which original state would mean,
At decommissioning.
Yes.
yes.
In 4 years.
Yeah, but with this size, I don't foresee them putting a septic tank in for construction of a project that's going to take less than 6 months.
Also, it's not on the conceptual plan, so it would not be consistent. If you recall, the one you're concerned about never had a CUP, it was done by right, so there's no conditions of use for that project. This one has the condition that the project has to be developed based on this plan. So based on this plan, under zoning, we wouldn't allow them to put a structure in a septic.
I understand that, and I know I'm being a dog, but the project that you're talking about is not juxtaposed to, nor does it drain into the reservoir.
We can add the condition, the applicant has already, and the board can provide any condition they want, so.
I was just asking if we could add the condition and bring it back in July. It seemed non-controversial to me.
I would ask that you have a consensus to add that if you'd like.
Could I get a clear indication of what the condition is verbatim so we can put it in?
That there'd be no structure or septic system put on the property.
Well, there are structures put on the property, the solar panels.
I'm
So could I
sorry.
get a clear indication of what the condition is?
Exactly. Can't be a Con Air, right, we'll get you that.
No habitable
Now.
structure.
No habitable
in-
structure.
No structure requiring a certificate of occupancy.
Okay, that works. Does that work for the board? For Ms. Ducey Ortiz?
Thank you, sir.
Okay, so we will vote on this CUP after we have our signing agreement in July.
Right.
Okay. Very good. We will now move to our public hearing to consider the conditional use permit application CUP 26-02 for utility solar energy facility known as Daffodil Field Solar. Ms. Ann Ducey Ortiz.
Right, I'm going to go pretty quickly through this as well because it's very similar, but the applicants are Farron Woods LLC, Joseph O'Connor is the LLC owner, and again, it's Hexagon Energy, that's the developer to establish a utility scale solar. This project, though, this is one tax parcel, so unlike the other, it's one parcel that they're proposing to develop a portion of. It's a 523-acre parcel. It's the west side of Ferry's Mill Road, south of the intersection with Bridges Bend Road, roughly about 3 miles north of the intersection of Route 17 and Ferry's Mill Road. It contains forested land used mostly for commercial timber. So this is the site that, the conceptual plan that is a condition of the approval. And similarly, the blue is the panels, the pink are the steeper slopes. They have a 75-foot buffer around there. There are wetlands in the green to the north of the site, and the interconnection is the red dot. So again, the Planning Commission looked at this. They used Appendix J and reviewed all the criteria and found it was consistent with the comprehensive plan based on Appendix J. We looked at the impacts to the transportation, fiscal, environmental, and other impacts on the joint presentation. Again, the Planning Commission found that this was consistent with the approval criteria for a conditional use permit. And these are the 7 criteria. So again, this is similar, same 3 options, and also to table it for the signing agreement if you so choose. So again, not going to go through basically the same reasons for supporting the application for approval as we just heard for the other application. And then similarly, the comprehensive plan considerations for approval. And similarly, they're proposing to do the archaeological research. And then factors supporting denial are similar to those that we just talked about, the potential of the resource protection area, the potential to impact steep slopes. It's currently on facility that has been used for timbering and agricultural purposes, and that it's upstream of our reservoir. Again, the natural resource chapter, the potential impact to natural resources might be a condition that you would use for denial. So the planning staff recommended that the Planning Commission forward this to you with a recommendation for approval and to determine that it was substantially in accord with the comprehensive plan. They proposed the same changes to the condition as the previous application. So your proposal may be to add similar, no structures needing a CO. We could add that to this as well. And so this, again, went to the recommended approval by unanimous vote with 2 absent at the Planning Commission. And again, these are the summary of the conditions that are proposed. So that's the end of my presentation. I think Mr. Hirschberger has one as well.
Good evening, Chairman Crisco, members of the board again. This will be even more brief than the last one. I will try not to repeat myself. Starting with Daffodil Fields. The summary of it is very similar to the Fox Mill facility. The Ferries Mill or Farron Woods LLC, the family that owns the LLC has owned this property for over 100 years. And again, similar, the last full clearing was in 1995. There's been some partial clearing since, but the section that we're discussing this evening was last cleared in 1995. And the owners are interested in a temporary, more productive use of the land. This also is a 6 megawatt distributed generation solar facility. All of the other details are strikingly similar, so I'm going to not repeat myself. Project benefits, again, generates $685,000 through the life of the project. An important note of that is, unlike residential development that traditionally costs about $1.25 for every dollar it brings in, there are no costs to the county for a project like this. Same kind of concept as the Fox Mill project. We did try to switch back the road entryway so that, again, we can obscure the fence line even if you're standing on Ferries Mill Road and looking directly into the project. Viewshed considerations. Again, this site it benefits from existing mature tree cover, and again, to illustrate that, I took pictures of the site. This is directly in front of it. This is looking both north and south from an area a little bit to the north. And then right below where the point of interconnection would be, this is where the power line actually crosses the street. And again, you can see the view shed would remain like it is today in perpetuity. This, again, with the same kind of agreement that we discussed earlier, everything inside of the boundary in excess of that 75-foot wide landscaping buffer would be retained. Everything that is not necessary to be cleared for the project. This similar community outreach, when I was down here to do for Fox Mill, I did the same thing for Daffodil Fields. We did hold a community meeting February 12th for this one. Only 3 members of the community attended that community meeting. Same issues as what we heard. It's generally supportive, especially over more intense development options. And the main question was really just viewshed. Same process this project will have as the Fox Mill project, with multiple layers of diligence for the county. The construction, operation, decommissioning, it's largely the same. So in order to save everybody time, I'm going to flip through those and let you guys know I'm happy to answer any questions that you have.
You have a question now, or you want to wait for the public hearing? Your choice. Thank you, Mr. Hirschberger. And I'm going to open the public hearing.
Yes, sir.
When you come forward, please state your name, magisterial district, limit your comments to 3 minutes, and we will commence the public hearing for CUP-26-02 Daffodil Field Solar.
Good afternoon. I'm Benjamin Tate from the Ware District. I have 3 concerns that I want to bring to your attention. As we discuss this, first, I'm having a hard time tracking who's applying for the permit. When you look at the document right off the rip, first applicant listed, Farron Woods LLC. Then when you get to section 1, Daffodil Fields Solar LLC is the applicant, and they are wholly owned by Hexagon Energy LLC. Then 2 lines later, Daffodil Fields Solar is mentioned again, but now it's the project, not the applicant. So who's applying for the permit? This comes into play much later, but what it comes down to is to sort out the name game and determine accountability. I'd like to know who the applicant of this permit is. My next concern is paragraph 3.7. It goes over common material being used and claims that there are no chemicals, fluids, or materials that can enter the environment. All materials break down over time and leach into the surrounding environment. This includes steel, aluminum, and other materials that are used for construction. The silicone in the panels, it's one of the materials they mention, is non-toxic and chemically inert once it's encased in the panel. However, what are the effects on the surrounding environment if the panel is damaged or breaks? While intact, the panels are completely safe, but fracture or breakage compromises the protective seal and presents long-term environmental leaching concerns. Because now you're getting this silicone that is toxic into the ground and the surrounding waters. Finally, in paragraph 8.0, it talks about facility decommissioning, removal of the system components, and rehabilitation of the site to pre-construction conditions. There is no mention of potential contamination due to vehicle or equipment traffic during construction, maintenance, removal, and remediation. Will the soil be tested during those phases to ensure that there's nothing getting into the ground that's going to sit there for 35 years leaching out before we find it? Because I've done construction. I've had equipment where you blow a hydraulic line and you spew 20 gallons in the time it takes to turn the key off. Is that going to sit for 40 years before remediation? So those are things that we need to know about. So I was going to mention that with all the different LLCs, there's potential that Hexagon at the end of the project during remediation could wash their hands of the entire thing. But the gentleman has already pointed out, as soon as you approve this, they're selling it to somebody else. Gentlelady over here already explained. They could turn around and sell it to another party and another. So who's going to be responsible at the end? So contamination needs addressed throughout. Thank you for your time. Have a nice evening.
Hi, my name is Kathleen Jones. I'm with the York District. I didn't come to talk, but I'm listening, and I have a question about one thing, well, a couple of things, but I'm not sure all the risk is mitigated. I mean, we need solar panels. We do need an alternate source of energy. I'm not sure solar panels, all the homework has been done. But one question I have is as soon as they sell this, who's it going to? Is it going to a domestic owner? Is it going to a foreign owner? And then after that, when they sell it again, who's that going to? And who's going to be the watchdog in Gloucester? Looks like we're making, what, $20,000 a year maybe in revenue. How much is it going to cost us to watch this? And then how much is it really going to cost us to clean up? A lot of us won't be here in 40 years, but that's a lot of watchdog. So that's just my thoughts as sitting here and listening. Thank you, and God bless.
Good evening, Chairman, Council. My name is Stephen Nasadowski. I live in Petsworth, specifically less than a mile from this solar field. I spent 23 years of my life in the Navy, never calling any place home, okay? I found my home at 10352 Ferries Mill Road, less than a mile from this place, specifically because of how rural it is and how I grew up on a 48-acre farm. We're destroying land, displacing wildlife. Granted, they'll go someplace else, you know. Bald eagles hover all over Beaver Dam. They're no longer on this endangered species list, but you're displacing where they live. All the wildlife. And you're affecting wildlife, not just that 50 acres, nor the other 50 acres. at least a mile of radius. And that includes where I live and where I'm now calling home. This is atrocious and should never happen. I never want to tell anybody what they should do with their property, including I don't want anybody to tell me to do my property. But I drive past this multiple times a day. When I turn down my road, I put a smile on my face because I see nothing but trees and rural area, and that makes me happy. This is destroying that. And not just for me. Tons of people drive past that road every day. People come up here to vacation and drive down my road to go to the campsite that's down there, okay? They don't want to see all this crap. 75-foot buffer. In the winter, you're going to see that. 75 foot, that's nothing. You're still going to see that. The impact on the road, the wildlife, this is atrocious. This can't happen. Thank you for holding it off until July vote. But the Fox Hill PowerPoint was never on your guys' website, as I was already pointed out. The revenue that's going to be accrued by the county, it's minimal. And who's going to pay Dominion to pay for the energy? Oh, hey, that's going to be us, by the way. Our energy prices are already going up. We're the leading place where these stupid data centers are already being built. A 6 megawatt solar farm is not going to cure our problem. It's not. Look at the bigger picture here. Thank you for your time.
My name is Joseph O'Connor. I am the principal owner of Fair & Woods LLC. I'm a native Gloucesterian. In fact, the last time I was in this building, I was getting my driver's permit quite a few years ago. My daughters and I are the owners of Fair & Woods. We've inherited this property from the Fahrenholt side of the family, and we've owned it for over 100 years. I understand that folks don't want this here. I get that. I understand the bald eagles. I completely understand that. The reality is this is not owned by the community. And my daughters, probably after I'm gone, are going to be faced. We get several opportunities to sell this property a year. People from out of town, from out of state, approaching us to buy our properties. And sooner or later, somebody's going to come along with a big enough wad of cash that my daughters are going to probably sell. And when they do that, this is going to be out of all of our hands. We care deeply about what happens in this county. Okay, my dad was fire chief here for many years. My mom is from the northern part of the county. The people who hunt this property, we've been letting them hunt. And I went to school with many of them for many, many, many years. We would not do anything that would hurt our own property, much less the upper part of Gloucester. The south part of Gloucester probably is too far gone, no offense to the folks, but the upper part of Gloucester, when I ride through there, looks very much the same as when I used to ride up there with my mom to see her home place up in Cache, Virginia. The economic pressure that's going to be put on by the tolls coming off this bridge, for those of you who weren't here back in those days, when the tolls first came off, I think back in the 70s, this was the fastest growing county in the state of Virginia, several years into that. Let me say that again. When those tolls first came off, this became the fastest growing county in the state of Virginia. A lot of the buildup that you see in the south part of the county happened during that period of time. In order to keep this property in our family that's been in there for over 100 years, we're going to have to do something to develop it. As much as we're not rich enough to just carry it. If we were, we'd put it in a conservatorship and be done with it. That'd be great. And I wish that we were, but we're not. And I know my daughters, they both work, their husbands work. I've got 5 grandchildren who are going to need college. I retired, and I'm telling you, for those of you folks who retired, you don't know.
Mr. O'Connor,
Yes.
Can you speak into the mic so we can
I'm
get you
sorry.
recorded?
Okay. I was a professor, so I tended
Yeah, you're
to-
fine.
to-
I know. I get it.
I got you. Where the hell was I? Excuse my French. Oh,
Grandchildren and education and
yeah, boy, that one's gone. That's okay. What they don't tell you when you retire, my wife and I just retired last year, is that that money that you get from the state and from Social Security gets eaten up by many things. And I would like personally to be able to live without worrying about it at the end of the month or the end of the year. We're not poor people, but we're not rich either. And there's more and more slices of money coming out of that every year. So my point being is that we have to optimize the amount of money that we get from this property, not maximize, but optimize it so that we can keep it. There's 200 acres on the north side of this. We'll be able to keep that and never develop it. Just continue to forest it like we have been for generations of my family.
Mr. O'Connor, can you wrap it up?
Okay, so yeah, so my point being is that we do care about Gloucester. These panels, we would not put anything on our property to ruin our own property, and I'm sure the county of Gloucester looks that way at the reservoir. I request that we put this off. That's great, but sooner or later, get it approved. Thank you.
Good evening again. My name is Matthew Nash, and I'm with the Ware District. Just sitting through the couple presentations, I just had a couple questions that have come up, and I understand this is a comment period, so maybe one of the board members can ask the question. So by right, does that supersede a CUP or an agreement that a board now signs, 5 years from now when there's a different board? So right now you have to have a CUP in order to do this. Once the CUP is there, you get by right for the battery storage. That's what I'm concerned about. Are they going to slip it in, even though it may be in the agreement now? Can you really sign away a right? That's one question. So my other one is the discussion about the funding. So if you're building on 50 acres, was that 680,000 calculated on that 50 acres, or was it calculated on the 250 acres? Right? So are you going to get a fifth of what you think you're going to get? That's my other question. Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to come forward and speak during this public hearing? Ms. Cronin, do we have any?
No comments for this public hearing.
No comments for this public hearing. So with that, I will close this public hearing, and now we'll open up to questions from the board. Would y'all like Ms. Ducey Ortiz to answer Mr. Nash's questions? I think we can answer at least one of them.
I believe that the condition of not having battery storage is a permitted condition. I will say that that law doesn't come into effect till July 1st. So if anything approved now, that would not be a condition. But my understanding that they could have that condition and it would be supported. I don't know if Mr. Wilmot has any thoughts on that.
It would be Mr. Chairman.
Yes,
It would
please.
be an enforceable condition of the CUP, notwithstanding that later it becomes a by right use, unless the state tells us we can't do that. So my understanding is, although the state has now indicated or passed a law saying that it's a by right use associated with solar facilities, we would still be able to enforce this CUP condition. It's voluntarily tendered or proffer, unless the state decides at some later
Tells us
date
we
that we can't.
Okay.
And I can check into about the land use. I'll check with the Commissioner of Revenue about that in terms of what would be considered part of the land use and what would not be.
Dr. Wood.
A question on the 2% of land. With the state's recent ruling about none of that applies, what are we going to be able to do? I mean, I'm
so-
sure you guys discussed, but can you give us some insights as to what planning's thinking about when that new law comes into play?
So I actually have it on the agenda for the Planning Commission on Thursday, but basically the law says that we have to allow it in everything but all the non-residential districts. So currently we allow it in suburban countryside, so we could not allow it in suburban countryside. And we can still keep it as a conditional use permit, so it's not a by right use. So you'd still have applications in RC1, RC2, unfortunately, which is our other ag district, I1, and the commercial districts, which it would be unusual for them to go in the commercial districts because the parcels are probably too small. So it would mostly be the RC1 and RC2. But we have a lot of SC1 in the county, and actually the last 3 of the solar facilities we have now are in SC1, the Winterberry, Camellia, and the one on 14.
So we'll have more of these.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Dr. Lenny.
I apologize for my slowness here. Mr. Hirschberger, I'm probably going to have to go back and replay the tape later, but I think you said for revenue purposes, we assumed all the parcels would lose their land use status.
Yes, sir, I did say that.
I thought that's what you said. Is that a proffer?
A proffer? It would be up to the Commissioner of the Revenue. I would point out that the vast majority of the taxation comes from the panels themselves. The real estate tax is a pretty minor part of the revenue generation picture, but our understanding, our expectation was full removal of land use.
For all parcels numbered?
If the owner wanted to take it out of land use, that would be an option. So I don't know how you want to handle that.
Do you understand my question?
Are you saying, are they voluntarily offering to take all of it out of land use?
Yeah. That's exactly the question. Since his revenue projections were based on that, I mean, that was a 685, whether that's 1 cent or not, that's the question. If the revenue projections were based on all parcels being removed from land use and a rollback, and the Commissioner of the Revenue is going to enforce a land use reduction only for, land use escalation only for the property underneath the solar panels plus the 75-foot buffer, we are on 2 different conversations. I mean, I think it bears a conversation, that's all.
Well, again, it would, so land use is optional, obviously, right? If you apply for land use, the commissioner does what she does in terms of deciding what can be in land use and what can't. So I guess it would be up between you and your, who you're leasing the land from, whether they'd be willing to take all the rest of the property out of land use and pay full property. The taxes probably would only, like, the higher taxes would only be on the developed property. The other would be developed, as the highest and best use, which would be timbering.
And the panels are, Mr. Chairman, the panels are taxed as personal property, they're industrial?
Machinery and tools.
The M&T. Okay.
And Dr. Lemming, as he had mentioned, this in one of his slides, because of the way our M&E tax is, that a large portion of the revenue you see is through the siding agreement where they give us additional funds each year. It's not in the real estate tax or anything else, it's in additional funds.
Thank you, Mr. Baines, I understand that completely. But I appreciate being reminded.
Yes. Ms. Hanson?
So to preface what Joe said, there's going to be a fence all the way around this.
Yes,
the
ma'am.
land inside the fence isn't going to be used for hunting or timbering. It's going to be cut off for the solar panel. So it makes sense that any land inside that fence would no longer be able to be land use.
Of course.
So, I mean, you're not assessing it, you're not going to timber it.
But
It's industrial and by nature because it's fenced in by nature.
But that's a Commissioner of Revenue decision.
Right. But I'm saying.
Or it's a profit.
Well,
But the Commissioner still has to accept it.
Are you telling me if I send a note to the Commissioner of Revenue that I don't want to apply land use to my farm, she has She has some.
No, she'll probably accept it, but she still has to accept it.
Okay.
If I may, this is something, because the siting agreement is not on the agenda tonight, this is something that we can touch base tomorrow on, you know, fleshing out those details. If I may address one thing that was said previously, may I?
Yes, please.
So one thing I just want to point out, it was mentioned, you know, the panels are somehow toxic. One thing I want to stress is the solar panels pass, both kinds, whether they're polysilicon or thin film, they pass the EPA's toxic characteristics leaching procedure. To simplify that, they crush them. They crush them up and they run water through them for an extended period of time. And they test the water as it comes through a crushed, not an intact panel, a crushed panel. So that it's pulverized, water's run through it, and these panels pass that test. And it's a very strict test. It's very, you know, it tells you the safety of the product. So I just wanted to put that on the record.
Mr. Hudson.
With the two sites, if they were to pass, you've got estimated 6 months of construction.
Yes, sir.
Would that be in series or parallel?
It would make sense for them to be in conjunction with each other. At this moment, I can't say definitively whether it would be one site then the other. It's just because of the queue positions, Fox Mill.
So it could be 12 months.
It could be, yes, sir. It could be 6 months on one and then 6 months on the other.
You could have a year in between the 6 months.
Yeah, you absolutely could.
I mean, you got timber contractors because they're going to get the money for the timber before they turn this over for someone to clean up the lap piles, to drive pilings to put in solar panels. Dr. Worth.
You mentioned that Hexagon has quite a few projects.
Yes, sir.
What's the history of the ownership of those projects once they're done? Because this has come up in a number of times about you build a project, someone comes and buys it and then sells it. What's the history of some of your projects?
So the history has largely been sell to a reputable long-term owner, and that's how they proceed. We have not seen a big history of, you know, and I understand, you know, on the project that shall not be named, there was that situation, and right. So I understand the concern. I understand the thought process there, but our history has not seen that, and I would credit the senior leadership and the founders of the company for their commitment to dealing with people they trust.
Is that because people would rather buy the big solar projects and that these smaller ones are really not profitable to go from site to site?
No, I mean, we develop projects of this magnitude, and the largest project we've done is 1.2 gigawatts. So we do everything in between as well, including wind, geothermal. We're a diversified company.
Dr. Lenny?
Mr. Chairman. Mr. Hirschberger, you would have no objection to including the same condition on this project as the other?
Absolutely not.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman.
Ms. Hanson?
Mr. Hirschberger, who has typically bought the projects once completed from other areas from your company?
So it's a diverse group. I would say I've only been through one sales process myself, and that was sold to Next. Please.
Yes, please. Yes, please.
She's worked here for.
Just state your name for the recording.
Good evening, board members. My name is Esther Reckelman. I'm a development manager at Hexagon Energy. As far as the projects that you all are looking at today, so the smaller distributed generation projects in Virginia, historically we have sold to Dimension Energy, Nexamp, and Dominion have been the three biggest sales of projects of this caliber. We've also, like Sean mentioned, we've sold some of our larger projects to Dominion as well, and then out of state, We've sold to Terraform Power, which formerly was known as SunTribe Solar, also based in Charlottesville. So that 1.2 gigawatt project in Illinois that he's referencing, we sold it to a local Virginia company as well. That's just a few examples of the diverse portfolio that Sean is talking about.
So Dominion Power's on a list of buyers previously.
Yes, ma'am.
And how long has Hexagon
I'm gonna-
been
can I
in
let
business?
Sean-
How long have you guys been doing this?
Hexagon has been in business for, we're coming up on, it's a little over 10 years. And thank you, Esther. Nexamp was the name that I was drawing a blank on.
Thank you.
Any other Mr. Bonneville?
Yes. Stursberger, I've received numerous emails about this project, and as I'm sure the rest of the board has, there's a level of anxiety because of its location.
Of course.
You gave a brief description on the testing that goes through this. Do you have anything else that can give me the warm and fuzzies about where this sits?
So that was one thing that we recognized in the very beginning. One of the first things I noticed was the reservoir. And in conversations with staff and members of the Planning Commission, that's why the graphic that's up on the screen right now it's why this was developed. And I apologize, the print is very small. So the summary of this graph shows the path for a drop of water from the site to the reservoir. So I do know that there have been issues with, sediment in other larger projects. And I've jokingly kind of mentioned that, comparing these two, it's not even apples and oranges. It's like watermelons and grapes, because, that project is multiple times larger than these. But that being said, we do take it very serious. And that's why, they'll be designed to work effectively, but also if you see like the path from the site to the reservoir, it's a pretty extensive trip through not only wetlands but streams, and the undisturbed natural environment there it acts the way it should act. If there is a worst case scenario and sediment does get out of the ponds, it has a long way to get to the reservoir to get cleaned out. So I think that, to me, that was one of my first things that I noticed that made me feel better about the site, was just the pathway from the site to the reservoir and how highly unlikely it would be, if not impossible, for sediment to actually get there. And I would say, in addition, if it was 800 acres encompassing that entire area, I would understand a lot more angst over it. 50 to 60 acres of disturbance area, quite frankly, that both sites would see way more clearing than they will with these happening. So, think of, what happens to a timber site. Gets clear cut with no protections.
Great. Any other questions for Mr. Dr. Worth? Sorry.
It's not really a question, but it's something that perhaps this board should be thinking about. And this came up with a comment from the owner about receiving other inquiries about selling land in this rural part of the area. And I think I would make a bet that inquiries are felt by people all over that part of the county. It may be something that we really need to consider, because I would bet that this is not the only place that people are being asked to sell their property. So it is an issue of growth that we've talked about, and I know one of the issues, Mr. Crisco, you brought up for the public, our media, is perhaps talk about growth and how we want growth to be managed in this county, because people like this part of the county, the rural part of the county, we don't want to be faced with decisions that could really irrevocably alter, which is what solar farms do. So it's just something that I think we need to be really concerned about for our future. But I think the gentleman did bring out, what do you do with someone who has a piece of land that can no longer afford the taxes and is faced with, what do you do with a piece of land if they need the income to support that? It's just something that we should be concerned about.
Yes, I would agree.
Mr. Chairman.
Ms. Hanson?
I would believe that any developer, home developer, because it's deemed agricultural land currently, correct? Timberland, they would have to come in front of us to get approval for that project, so it's no different. I mean, we can stop them from building, or we can stop the solar panels, there's a choice.
I'm just saying that there's pressure out there, and we should be aware of that pressure.
But I don't know how aware we need to be of the pressure, simply because it's private property. I mean, my parents owned 64 acres in King William County for a number of years, and we didn't get probably less than 3 pieces of mail a month since it went into my parents' name to sell it, to lease it, or do something with it. To me, it's a property rights issue. These folks need to have the opportunity to make the best decision for themselves. And our job is to make sure they're not going to do anything that's going to harm their neighbors. And at the end of the day, that's what we're doing here tonight is this going to harm anybody? And is it a benefit to, is it enough of a benefit to provide an approval? And I think this board is of the mindset that this one will wait until July, till, I'm assuming this is a very similar project. There's no need to hash it out, but we will do the same thing with this CUP as we did the last one. And make the decision after the siting agreement is done at our July meeting.
Mr. Chairman.
Yep, Ms. Hanson.
So you talk about property rights, and, we've sat here at these meetings and had discussions about putting out sheds on our property and where it goes and meets the RPV or RPA, whatever. So we can't just do what we want with our land. We have to go through zoning to put something on our property, and that may or may not affect anyone. A shed's not going to hurt anyone necessarily, especially if we do it without a permit. But, we can't just muck around, and we do not have a choice to what we do or don't do. But we do have a choice as a board to decide what's right for our community and our county, whether it's a shed or it's a housing development.
But with solar, it's very possible with this next legislature, we don't get that decision anymore.
Sure.
I mean, and
Well,
they're already trying to handcuff us now with battery storage as an accessory by right use. So
it is my understanding they still have to come through us for zoning for that, so that we would have to release it to be able to do that. It's been my understanding that they can't just make agricultural into industrial. But I would need to.
if they have the existing land, I don't think it has to come back to us. Right, if it has a CUP, correct.
Right, if it has a CUP, right, which is an exception.
So, yes, there's no, we've already done the first one. We're not even, yes. We're going to bring this up after we have our siting agreements done in July. So we will move to the next item, but I'm going to take a 5-minute recess. So if anybody would like to, was all here for the public hearings for this, you are free to leave if you would like. You're welcome to stay, but we will take a 5-minute recess. I'd like to call the meeting back to order. I think we are now at public hearing number 3. Public hearing to consider ordinance to amend state mandated fees for discharges of stormwater from construction activities. Mr. Kevin Landry, Environmental Programs Manager. Oh, you should have brought that water. You're going to want it.
I had half of it. Thank you. Good evening. Tonight's presentation from Environmental Programs is for the DEQ mandated stormwater fee increases effective July 1, 2026. So for tonight's agenda, we will have an overview of changes. I'll give you the historical context and background. We'll have supporting legislation and mandate information, the specifics of the fee overhaul, and a few fee charts. So the overview changes. The State Water Control Board oversees the Virginia Erosion and Stormwater Management Program, VESMP. Gloucester is one of those. A local erosion and stormwater management program. The Virginia Stormwater Management Permit is required for projects over 1 acre here in the county. The General Assembly required the changes. These changes take effect July 1, 2026, and the increase from current fees is to a 61% funding level, and we'll get to a little bit more detail on that. So the historical context and background. There was a decade-long stagnation. The last time these baseline permit fees were adjusted was 2010, when they came out with the previous permit. There was funding shortfalls. The historical fees covered only 38 to 39% of direct administrative costs of running the state's stormwater program. I worked for DEQ and DCR when they implemented these programs, and I can tell you the funding was constantly running low on their end. The fees that they collected did not support the program. And the program lacked sustainable compliance oversight capabilities. We lacked resources to have sufficient inspection staff. At one time, when I was at DEQ, I had 15 localities. And so it was very difficult for me to manage 15 localities effectively. They were 2 hours or so apart from each other, from one end to the other. And so doing any substantive compliance was very difficult. So the goal was the restructuring to a 61% fee level, up from the 38 to 39%. It shifts the burden of the program oversight to the developers, contractors, and permittees, really the way it should be. So the enabling mandate originally was the budget bill, but it is the 9 VAC 25875. The supporting legislation is in your packet that gives all the information for this enabling mandate. It required the Department of Environmental Quality to establish a permit fee schedule where the fees pay for 60 to 62% of program implementation, compliance, and enforcement. And then there's also a statutory fee split update that was amended the fee sharing distribution. Currently, we keep about 72% of the Virginia Stormwater Management permit fees, and we give 28% to the state. With this update, DEQ is going to be getting 30% rather than 28%. So we do keep the 70 instead of 72%, but in this case, we're getting less more, if that makes any sense, of the permit fees as they go up. So the specifics of the fee overhaul: the fees affect DEQ managed areas and 93 local VESMP authorities, of which we are one. The baseline fees currently range from $290 to $9,600. The new fees will range from $450 to $14,300. DEQ reviews and adjusts the fees annually based on the Consumer Price Index. Inflation adjustments must be calculated and finalized December 31st of each year. That take effect July 1 of each year. We're not automatically doing that. We're not. We don't have that in this ordinance. So any fee increases will have to come to the board next year. It's not automatic. let's take a look at the fees here. The current fee column on the left is what we have currently. You have your smaller projects at the top. Those are $290. Beginning July 1/26, they will go to $450. The areas in green are all your single-family residential categories. So there will be no change in those. Any projects currently, under 1 acre, single-family development under 1 acre, out by themselves in the woods somewhere, there's no charge for that at all. And then you have residential structures with land disturbance from 1 to 5 acres. It's $209. That's not going up. And then you have other projects within a common plan of development for single families, $209. That's not going up. So really, these changes affect your commercial projects. And so they haven't gone up in 16 years. So the ones towards the bottom are for your construction activities as they go up. And for your larger solar projects over 100 acres, it's almost $15,000. So I think that's, the larger projects should pay their fair share. Okay, so we have modification fees. Currently, the column in the center is what folks pay currently for modification. That's if you're expanding a project, you want to change something to it. There's administrative costs to that. And beginning 7/1/26, the fees for commercial projects will go up, but single-family residential will stay the same. There's also annual permit maintenance fees. So, all the projects that we've been talking about, certainly these solar projects, but any of your other larger housing complexes, certainly any commercial project, there's annual permit maintenance fees associated with that, and they are also going up July 1/26. And really, that's all that I have for this evening. If you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them.
Any questions for Mr. Landry before opening the public hearing? Thank you, sir. I will open the public hearing. Please come forward, state your name, magisterial district, and limit your comments to 3 minutes. Don't everybody come up at once? Okay. Nope, I know. Seeing none, Ms. Cronin, were there any comments? None there either, so I will go ahead and close the public hearing. Any questions? We have a motion. Is there a second? Second. We have a motion. We have a second. Seeing no further discussion, Mr. Baines, would you poll the board?
Yes, sir. Mr. Crisco?
Yes.
Mr. Nicosa?
Yes.
Ms. Hanson?
Yes.
Mr. Bonneville? Yes. Dr. Orth? Yes. Dr. Lemming? Mr. Hudson? Mr. Hudson? Yes. Thank you.
So to ease your confusion, we had 2 other votes that were supposed to happen tonight, and he went straight to the one for this one, and I'm the first one then.
That's why they were in that order, sorry.
I knew why you did it, but I'm like,
What's he doing? Yeah.
why is it deferred?
I wanted to go first. Okay, so we will now move to our public hearing to revise the fees, rates, and charges for county water and sewer service. Katie Legg, Director of Public Utilities.
Good evening.
The excitement.
Is mine going to be as quick as his?
That's up to you.
Okay, so just as a reminder, this is the original 5-year rate increase plan that you have seen several times that I started back in '25. So the rates were increased in May of '25 for the first time in over 10 years. That was a 14% rate increase per tier, and we are now at FY27 with a 13% increase per tier. So what that looks like for a water-only customer, that top box shows you what the current rate is and what the proposed rate will be. And then that bottom table shows you what that looks like for actual customer bills. This is for a water-only customer. 86% of our water-only customers use 5,000 gallons or less. This would be projected to generate approximately $575,000 in additional revenue. Water and sewer customer, again, the top table shows you what the current rates are for sewer rates and what the proposed rate is, the column on the right. And the bottom table shows you what that impact looks like to a customer for water and sewer. 80% of all water and sewer customers use 5,000 gallons or less, and this generates approximately $135,000. So a total of $710,000 in revenue from this 13% increase. Also, as part of the advertised public hearing, was a proposed increase to application and development fees. On this slide, you'll see what the water application and development fees are. That second column shows you what the current fee is combined by meter size, and what the next column shows you the proposed combined, and what those application and development fees would look like based on meter size. Based on the FY27 approved budget, this would generate approximately $11,800. If you look at the FY26 actuals, this would generate approximately $57,000. Our application and development fees were significantly higher than we budgeted for this year. For the sewer application and development fees, the table is laid out the same. You can see the current combined cost, the proposed combined cost, and then it broken down into application and development. Based on the FY27 adopted budget, this could generate approximately $12,500. I hope that's not my phone. Based on FY26 actuals, this could generate about $68,000 in revenue. So this has been duly advertised for public hearing. You do have a resolution in your board packet starting on page 332, and the rates would be effective July 1st.
Okay. Any questions of Ms. Legg before I open the public hearing? Okay. I will now open the public hearing on the revised fees, rates, and charges for county water and sewer. If you wish to come forward, please state your name and magisterial district and limit your comments to 3 minutes. Okay.
Nathan Brown from the Ware District. It's a big word that going around the state. I'm not see what the state's doing about it, but it's affordability. If you're going to raise your rates 13%, HRSD is going to raise their rates 9%. How people want to afford their water and sewer bills after a while? It's not going. We can't keep going up at this rate because people don't make enough money to pay it. That's going to be a big problem, and we need to get about it. But nobody really cares. But the big problem is we keep putting out budgets and we're raising the rates, and I don't see the projects getting done. We need capital improvements. The whole water system is falling apart. You know, you go to Gloucester Point, almost all the water lines down there need to be replaced. And it's going to cost millions of dollars, and we're not starting on it. It's millions of dollars worth of work in the courthouse. We don't have, you know, we've been talking about Pump Station 11 since it got flooded during Isabel. That was in 2003, and we still haven't started on the project. So we need to get some of this work done so that we can make the system more efficient and stop losing the water. We only sell like 70% of the water we produce. We should be, so 30% of it is just lost somewhere in the system. So we need to cut that down. It should be, ideally, it should be 10%. Same thing with the water treatment plant. The water treatment plant was built back in the 80s. It was built when I started in laundry, and this is when they built the water treatment plant. And it's falling apart, and it's going to need upgrading. And we haven't made the upgrades we needed to do, and we don't really have a clear plan on how we're going to fix it. You know, if we keep just Band-Aiding the plant we've got, we're probably gonna, you know, utilities director all said in a few years, you may have to just build a new plant. So we've got to start getting some of this work done. You know, I bring this up every year. Pump Station 11, that's the one down here down the hill by Beaver Dam. I don't think anybody's fully looked at the sewer line that runs into it, all the way from up here to the hospital. And we're on a consent order with the federal government saying we're going to fix it. Well, how are we going to fix it if we haven't even got a plan to fix it? And on top of that, you know, we're talking about building a 2 million gallon storage tank at the water treatment plant. I'm not really sure what it will serve.
Mr. Brown, can you wrap up your comments?
Yes, sir. But the water tower here in the courthouse and the one in Gloucester Point still are at the wrong height, and they don't work in the system. We have to waste water to keep them flushed out because they're not going up and down like this one. Why don't we raise those water towers and make them work first? There's a lot of stuff that needs to be done. We got to get doing it.
Mr. Brown, your time is up.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else wishing to come forward and speak this evening? Any online? Nothing there. So I'm going to close the public hearing. Any questions from board members of staff? There is an ordinance to revise the fees appearing on page 332. Oh,
Not a question, but a statement. It's scary as can be that we're looking at 13% this year, 11% the next year, 10% and 8%. These are huge increases over the next 4 years that the citizens, the people that are on the water system, are going to have to pay. And that's in addition, as Mr. Brown said, that's in addition to what HRSD is going to charge.
Yes, sir. But one of the things we've got to realize is that for 10 years, we didn't raise the rates at all, but everything else kept going up. The cost of us making water, the equipment we got out there. So we're at a point where now we're trying to play catch up to make sure we do get things. And I tell you, the plan that Katie presented to y'all at the retreat is a plan that I think is doable, and I think it's actually going to get us to the point where I feel very confident that our system will be as good as anybody else's. But you're right, we've got to stay the path, and it's not going to be a comfortable path. But we get back to where we feel like we're not having a problem with any of our main systems, you'll be able to start to see that maybe those rates go down faster. But right now, we're still on the front edge of that, trying to get ourselves to the point where we're actually fixing what's broke and not doing the new stuff.
Mr. Baines.
Yes, sir.
I can agree with everything you just said, except for the end. When have rates ever gone down on anything?
I will just take that. I knew the utility director in New Kent, and the rates didn't go down, but the percentage that they had to go up got reduced. So at the end, when they were still going to have to go at 8%, they started having their increases at 4% and then at 2%. They didn't have to keep going at 8 all the way up for this 10 years. They had to do it to get caught up. So you're right, the rates would still go up, sir, but maybe not at the same rate that we see they're going up. We just got to get ahead of this thing, though. We're not ahead of it yet.
I wish that I could be as positive and optimistic as Mr. Baines, because I did share with you all during the budget process. We added Main Street project, which was not listed anywhere. And so this 11% that you could be considering in FY28, which I understand is irrelevant right now, is likely going to be closer to 20%, if that's how we're going to continue to fund these projects. In theory, sewer and water charges would fund operating, and they can, but that doesn't address our need for capital projects. So I can't focus on 28, 29, and 30 quite yet, but I can do everything in my power to try to keep those numbers there, not that that makes it any easier on the customer.
Dr. Worth?
Yeah, just like when I looked at the pages that went with the packet, did I see something that said water meters? You know, it's the question you and I have regarding the people that borrow those meters to measure water they use. and that rate is is that an annual rate or a monthly rate? Because do these people keep the meters the whole year, or do they come in and say, I need it for whatever?
It depends, is the short answer. So the hydrant meters currently, under our existing policy, they have a $500 deposit that they pay us. They get the meter. They send us their usage every month. So then they are charged these standard rates depending on usage per month.
Right.
And then they bring it back if they're done with it. So for example, sheets going in. They need it for a small amount of time. O'Reilly's, same thing. Whereas we have other developers that hang on to them because they're continually doing things. So that's one of the things that we're going to be looking at with the policy, that I have about 11 different localities that I'm reviewing their policies on.
Yeah. The reason why I brought it up, I saw a little sign at some road that says, you want water, buy it. It's the water wheels.
Oh, water on wheels.
Do we know if these people are selling our water really cheaply and making a lot of money off us when they might get...
Anecdotally, that answer is no. The profit margin for those companies is quite high. I just from my own questioning when I needed to fill a pool.
Right. Yeah. I don't know if we want to deal with that right now or not.
But Dr. Orth, this is a capitalistic country. That you've got to pay for the truck, you've got to pay for the driver, you've got to pay for everything else. There's an expense to providing that service. Put your hose in the damn pool. Put your hose in the pool and fill it, and see how long it takes you.
It takes a week.
Correct.
Yes, dear.
So, with those meters, do they come back annually?
They do not. There has not been any policy on that at all.
Because I know Newport News Waterworks requires an annual rotation.
Yes.
Because I used to have one of those meters.
Can we at least do that?
Yes. I'm looking at a complete overhaul, not only from that standpoint, but also the security deposit needs to go up, because if we do have an issue with one, they're about $1,900 a piece. They're not $500. In fact, we just ordered 3 more because the demand for them is so high. And I think they just came in today, so.
Yeah, I would like to see because then we can check and make sure they haven't tampered with it.
Yes.
And also make sure that the numbers that they've called in over the 12 months actually matches what's on the meter. Because I used to have to do that for the company I used to work for.
And to your point also, we don't know where they actually take water a lot of the times. So Katie's also going to designate certain places they can be doing it so that we can check on them more often than some guys back behind, this
Right.
little garage here or there. So we're going to also have...
Behind Ollie's. We've identified
You got to watch
5.
those guys behind Ollie's.
I know.
They're sneaky.
We've identified 5 locations throughout the county that have the best visibility, the best turnaround area for the larger vehicles that we will start to encourage folks to use.
Okay. Sorry, I know that's not part of this,
Sorry,
but that's
yeah, we
still
went down
important.
a bunny trail.
With that, we have an ordinance to amend these rates. We have a motion for the resolution on page 332. We have a second. Any further discussion? Mr. Baines, would you poll the board?
Certainly. Mr. Nicosa?
Yes.
Ms. Hanson?
Yes.
Mr. Bonneville?
Yes.
Dr. Orth?
Yes.
Dr. Lemming? Mr. Hudson?
No.
Mr. Crisco?
No.
All right. It passes.
Thank you.
All right.
As the night goes on, I think I'm the next one.
Here we go. All right, so we are up to our regular agenda, 2 hours and 45 minutes in. Next up, we have a resolution to authorize execution of the charter agreement of the Bay Consortium Local Workforce Development Area. Mr. Baines.
Yes, thank you. We have Ms. Jackie Davis with
that.
us here tonight, and the Workforce Consortium, the state has mapped us into a different one. We were doing some stuff with the Hampton Roads area, but now we're with the Middle Peninsula. And she's going to give us a short presentation and then answer any questions y'all have. And I think we have a resolution after that for y'all to approve. And normally this would be the board chair or a designee shall serve on the consortium, and the meetings are held quarterly, and the meeting locations rotate. So we'll talk about that when we get done.
Yep, I'm Jackie Davis. I am the Executive Director for the Bacon Social Workforce Development Board. And as was said, the state has realigned the Hampton Roads Workforce Council and our Workforce Board area. And we will now include Gloucester County. And I want to thank you. And we are really looking forward to serving Gloucester as part of our region. It's already part of the Go Virginia region that we already serve. We have done 3 projects in Gloucester County. 2 were Go Virginia funded, and 1 was from the United States Department of Labor Critical Sectors Job Quality Grant. And I've given Ms. Cronin the reports for all of those. I provided an annual report that we put out last year, my contact information. We also have some plans already in the works for next year. We have September. We're working with our school systems to do a Future Fest for our 7th graders, the light touch career exploration, working with the employers in the region to do hands-on activities with the kids. We are planning one here in Gloucester and Abington Ruinton Club for the 7th graders, and we have each of the school systems will be bringing kids in. We have, even though our contract doesn't cover Gloucester, we have served 6 individuals from Gloucester through our Title I contract that Rappahannock Community College holds. With those trainings were for healthcare, IT, logistics, about $20,000. We also have worked with the library in order to bring in career services to do resume writing, job search, those types of things. We've identified 2 days during the week beginning in July that we'll be down at the library providing services. And I don't know if you have any questions for me. Like you said, we have 4 meetings a year. We rotate them throughout our regions through the planning districts is how we usually do the rotation. We have our local elected official consortium that usually is the Board of Supervisors chair, but you can designate other people. We have, as an example, we have county administrators, we have economic development and school board that are represented on that. And then the board member to serve on the board, we have, our board must be majority business, so we're looking for a business representative to fill that position.
Any questions of Ms. Davis? We have a resolution on page 348 in our packet. We have a motion. We have a motion and a second. Seeing no further discussion, Mr. Baines, would you poll the board?
Ms. Hanson?
Yes.
Mr. Bonneville?
Yes.
Dr. Orth?
Yes.
Dr. Lemming?
Yes.
Mr. Hudson?
Yes.
Mr. Crisco?
Yes.
Mr. Nicosa?
Yes.
All right. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, ma'am.
If you have any questions, you'll have my contact information.
Yes.
Just let me know.
All right. We appreciate it very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Now we're to regular agenda item B, request for a public hearing to consider an ordinance to create the Fox Mill Community Development Authority conditional upon approval of Fox Mill rezoning application. Ms. Ann Ducey Ortiz, Director of Planning and Zoning and Environmental Programs.
Hello again. I tried to put this on the consent agenda, but Trish wouldn't let me. So this is, as you know, the Fox Mill rezoning. We're hoping to get that to you in July. Part of that is the creation of a community development authority. That advertising is different than that for rezoning, so we have to advertise that June 11th, 18th, and 25th. So because that's not a regular thing that you normally look at, we need the authority to go ahead and advertise that. Whereas with the rezoning, since it's an application, we automatically advertise that. So we do have Grady Palmer from representing from D.R. Horton and some representatives from D.R. Horton if you had any questions. But essentially, this is just the public hearing to authorize the creation of the CDA.
Any questions of staff or D.R. Horton? We have a resolution commencing on page 362. We have a motion. We have a motion. We have a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, Mr. Baines, would you poll the board?
Yes, sir. Mr. Bonneville?
Yes.
Dr. Orth?
Yes.
Dr. Lemming?
Yes.
Mr. Hudson?
Yes.
Mr. Crisco?
Yes.
Mr. Nicosa?
Yes.
Ms. Hanson?
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next item is a request to proceed with application for the USDA Rural Business Development Grant RBDG program. Ms. Regine Biggers, Deputy County Administrator.
Yes. Good evening, board members. At the May 5th board meeting, the board did approve for us to do a working group or a task force to look at or explore a sports complex at the Old Page site. After that meeting, I started doing some research, and I looked and I found that there was a USDA Rural Business Development Grant. After that, I decided to contact Claire from the MPPDC and see if we can possibly get this grant. Probably a week later, she contacted me and said, hey, it's opening up. What do you think about let's apply for it? So before the board today is a resolution to support a USDA Rural Business Grant and to proceed with the application. Me, Matt, and Hunter have been working with Claire on this application and the possibility of looking into funding a feasibility study to evaluate the future use of this property, including a potential public-private partnership opportunity. We promised to get this to TED by June 10th or 11th for legal review and sufficiency, so we can meet the June 30th deadline. The good news is there is no local county match for this grant, so if we're awarded, it will be currently anticipating a start date of September of this year. Of course, that could change. We don't know what the federal government. But again, this study would give the board and the residents valuable information before making any long-term decision about the site.
Perfect. We have page 398. Yes, sir. We have a motion. Is there a second? We have a motion. We have a second. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, Mr. Baines, would you pull the board?
Yes, sir. Dr. Orth? Yes. Dr. Lemming?
Yes.
Mr. Hudson?
Yes.
Mr. Crisco?
Yes.
Mr. Nicosa?
Yes.
Ms. Hanson?
Yes.
Mr. Bonneville?
Absolutely, yes.
Passes.
Very good. Thank you. All right, next we have board appointments. Let me get to my sheet here so I can tell you which ones we have tonight. All right, we have the Clean and Green Advisory Committee. We have two members, Ms. Nancy Deptola and Sarah Sass Kitts, up for reappointment. Both are asking for reappointment. Is there a motion to reappoint those two? We have a motion, and we have a second. We have a Comprehensive Plan Steering Committee vacancy in the York District. Ms. Hanson?
I'd like to nominate Ms. Kathleen Jones for that position. I spoke to her at length and think she's very capable of participating and working with the current members of that steering committee. And I'd like to move that she be accepted.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion. We have a second for that one. Now we have 4 members of the Library Board of Trustees. And it appears that there's only one eligible for reappointment, and that would be Ms. Sabrina Arrington in the Abingdon District. Mr. Orth, or Dr. Orth? Is there a second?
Second.
All right, then there are 3 other openings. I don't know if we have any in. What do you mean? There's 3 other.
Yeah, but we only have one.
Correct, and that's what I was getting to. So I will. Correct. Is there a second? All right, so we have a motion and a second for the Pettsworth District, so that will leave the Ware District and the York District. Please try to find somebody for the Library Board of Trustees. With that, we have our desired appointments and seconds. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All right, we're done with that. Next up, we will move to county attorney items.
Glad to be here.
Thank you, sir. Board and commission reports. I do have one. The Middle Peninsula Planning District Commission has successfully retained a new executive director. And now, of course, his name just ran right out of my head. Perry Hickman has agreed to accept that position. Thank you. Yeah, and I had to interview him and everything else, and it just went right away. And he actually, official first day is June the 15th, but he was in office today doing things to get himself acclimated and ready to start on the 15th. So that'll be good for us there. And I think as well, we will be getting the MPA rolling again here very shortly once we get Keith out of whatever they're doing in Richmond.
This isn't really a great response, but at the Middle Peninsula, can we discuss what happened with their finance department? So at the last meeting, because they were having issues with their CFO, that they went ahead and voted to eliminate that department and to go out and use a CPA firm to actually do it because they were having issues getting their budget and stuff straight. So they're like the rest of us right now. The finance world is just tough.
Yeah.
It is just tough.
So we're moving along, finally again in the right direction there. Any other board and commission reports? I'll move to supervisors discussion. I have quite a few. I'm just going to put them in an email and send you all. With the timing of tonight, we're already at 2 hours and 55 minutes in. Yes, we are talking through a question of their liquidated damages claim, and
Yes, that got cleared up today by our county attorney, so we're moving forward from that one, but you still have to go through all the vetting process now. So we've got their bid, we're moving through it, but yes, the
My
first
goal-
question was taken care of today by the county attorney.
our
Thank you
goal
so
will
much.
be to work with Davenport and everybody else, hopefully in our July meeting, to get this thing rolling and do what we need to do to borrow the money and get the project started.
Yeah, if we need additional meetings to make sure things move, perhaps we could just consider that, just
We will. I mean, the beautiful thing is the bids came in where no one was expecting them to be. And they were all, I mean, within like a 5% number. So I'm pretty confident the bid is good. I don't expect to see a whole lot of change orders coming out of what we have here. I felt so important to be a part of that all of a sudden Monday morning I woke up and I said, man, we opened bids today. So I called Christine Joyce and said, hey, what time is that today? Is it 4 o'clock? What time is it? She said 2 o'clock. I said, I'll be there. So I went there and actually was there for the bid opening.
Okay.
It was neat. And
good news.
we are, yeah, it's great news considering where we were when this started all those years ago to only be at 13.7 from where we thought we were going to be starting at like 11.
Yeah.
It's a win for a change.
And Dr. Orth, you still have to go through signing the contract portion, but because they already have an approved site plan, it means almost as soon as we sign the contract, they can go to digging dirt. They may not have everything else done, but because of that, am I speaking correctly, Ann? They got to get all the permits, but they got a site plan approved, so we won't have that 6 months of the site plan. It's already approved, so we get the contract signed. They can have somebody down there disturbing land as soon as they get their permits.
So, any other supervisors discussion? Seeing none, Mr. Wilmot, we have a closed session for personnel matters. Would you please read us into closed meeting?
Yes, sir. Whereas the Gloucester County Board of Supervisors desires to discuss a particular subject in closed meeting during the course of its meeting of June 2, 2026, and whereas the nature of the subject is personnel matters, specifically discussion on position, employment, duties, and responsibilities of the Deputy County Administrator and Chief Financial Officer, such discussion in closed meeting is expressly permitted by Virginia Code Section 2.2-3711A1. Now therefore be it resolved that the Gloucester County Board of Supervisors does hereby convene in closed meeting for the purposes herein expressed pursuant to the legal authority herein recited.
Is there a second? A motion and a second. No further discussion. Mr. Baines, would you poll the board?
Certainly. Dr. Lemming?
Yes.
Mr. Hudson?
Yes.
Mr. Crisco?
Yes.
Mr. Nicosa?
Yes.
Ms. Hanson? Mr. Bonneville? Dr. Orth? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
We're
We are in
session.
closed session. Whereas the Gloucester County Board of Supervisors has completed its discussion in closed meeting and now desires to continue its open meeting, and whereas only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting were heard, discussed, or considered during the closed meeting, and the only subject matters heard, discussed, or considered in said closed meeting were the matters identified in the resolution by which it was convened. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Gloucester County Board of Supervisors does hereby reconvene an open meeting at its meeting of June 2nd, 2026, and certifies the matter set forth in Virginia Code Section 2.2-3712D.
So moved.
Right.
We have a motion, we have a second. Mr. Baines, will you poll the board?
Yes. Mr. Hudson?
Yes.
Mr. Crisco?
Yes.
Mr. Nicosa?
Yes.
Ms. Hanson? Yes. Mr. Bonneville? Dr. Orth? Dr. Lemming?
Yes. We have, is there a second? Second. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. We are adjourned.